Welcome into the Midday Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic alongside Kevin Cooney. I'm Ray Dunn. Kevin, how you doing today?
I'm good, Ray. How are you?
It's good to see you.
Nice to see you. I know.
Yeah. And a little different for the two of us getting a chance to work together.
I know.
This is the post-game show.
48 hours later.
Yeah, which we got a lot to react to from that. We'll get into the Phillies coming up because I want to know what we're rooting for here at the end of the week, and we'll dive into that. I know with you we could dive into like the 26-man roster for the postseason and get excited about October because it's been a fun September all across the board for me that I'm looking forward to a great October, and part of the fun September was that second half comeback on Sunday.
Yeah.
And we talked a lot yesterday about the offense. This was back-to-back Mondays where I left the show and I was like, man, talked about the offense. Everything else got a mention in there, but I feel like I drained my brain just talking strictly offense for this team. And the second half brought the question out whether or not that can be a springboard, a jumping off point, whatever you want to call it, for the offense going forward. But inevitably, we got to the quarterback. And I touched on this yesterday. We did maybe a part of a segment because I saw the tweet from Unsportsmanlike, the ESPN show in the mornings on ESPN Radio that was just finish this sentence. Jalen Hurts is, and I was laughing at some of the replies, just getting to see it. But it got me thinking on my drive home. We touched on that, but trying to encapsulate the Jalen Hurts experience is fun because it's worked out so well for the team. It's fun for me to try and put into words what exactly it is because it's not like the way we go about rating quarterbacks in Philadelphia usually is a different experience from just anywhere else, I think. And the way that we rate Jalen Hurts also, I think, is such a dichotomy of the people that care so much about, oh, he's got to be 6'5", the big arm, this, that, the other thing, and he just wins, so shut up. And you have to fall somewhere in that spectrum. And I'm curious for people today at 610-632-0975 to finish that sentence of Jalen Hurts is fill in the blank. Fill in the blank of that sentence because I want to get a real sense from the people of after 3 games, after the way you see that offense go in the second half, how you feel about the quarterback. And not so much like, oh, I think he's top 5, I think he's top 3, I think he's top 1. No, just what is the best way you would sum up the experience of watching him play quarterback for your team? So, Kevin Cooney, I will start with you. To fill in the blank there, Jalen Hurts is
a winner. I mean, flat out. If the job of a quarterback, it's the one position where you get the idea that it's his results are tied directly to the team's results. You know, it's almost like the only position on the field where you get a win-loss record next to your name. He's a winner. He's one of the best. He's one of the best winners that this city has ever had. Think of it. Like, who else would you put in his classification of winning? Bernie Perrant, who passed away over the weekend. Okay. Maybe Steve Carlton. Doc Halladay for a short time. The Eagles have never had a guy like him where you just go, all that dude does is win. He never complains. He's a winner. Flat out. That's enough for me, too. I don't need all these gaudy stats. I don't need, is he top 5 and all that? Dude just wins.
And I think that's the best way to sum him up in the sense of like just a short encapsulation, like 2 words there, a winner. Like that feels like the best way for me. As I was thinking about this yesterday after I saw this and we kind of joked around with, there was the reply that was like tush push merchant, overrated this, or product of his environment. And then, of course, I saw the Philadelphia fans responding, he's him. He's the greatest thing I've ever seen. And I enjoyed scrolling through that. To me, Jalen Hurts is always going to be there at the end. There's just a sense that no matter how a game plays out, no matter how difficult the situation appears, he's going to find a way. You mentioned winning. Like, he's submitted himself to this idea of winning is what we need to do, and whatever it takes to do it, I'm going to do it regardless of outside factors here. And it's an impressive thing to watch for a guy week in and week out do that. And I know there was the criticism that I know I levied of like, hey, the first 2 weeks, it can't just all be the offensive coordinator. There has to be some blame here of the quarterback just being too timid to throw the ball down the field, of just wanting to be so conservative to not throw the ball down the field. There has to be a conversation at least about him as well opening it up. And yet, they win the first 2 weeks, and part of that is because when the turnover battle in the big moments, they don't give the ball up. When they get themselves down in the first half, the reason they win in that second half, one of the driving forces, the reason why they win in that second half, is the fact you have a quarterback that can put on that type of performance. And you're starting to see that conversation about him nationally shift of like, it's not so much about, oh, what does he do? Can he make the throws? Like, we're going to play Dan Orlovsky's audio coming up in the next segment, him talking yesterday on ESPN, where even guys that were like, I don't know, can Hurts fit in your top 5 conversation? Why would I have him in that conversation? Even all those guys at this point, like, I got to throw my hands up in the air and look at what he is. And the guy just freaking wins. Like, I remember it was the disaster of a Giants game. I believe it was his first year as a starter.
Right.
He played about as bad as you could. And they were a Jalen Reagor drop away from that game being different. Like, that game sticks out to me because a friend and I talked after the game. My friend was like, as bad as he played, they were still there in it in the end. And he's like, it seems like that's just the Hurts experience. Like, no matter what happens, Hurts is going to find a way to pick himself off. Yeah, he's going to pick himself up off the mat and give you an opportunity to win the game. That's what Jalen Hurts is to me. He's the ultimate reason why at the end you just never find yourself counting out the Eagles, because he's going to find a way, again, to submit himself to winning.
Well, and the other part of it, I'll go back historically, okay? Look, and I'm a huge, when I was a kid, I was a huge Joe Montana fan, okay? Joe Montana is arguably second on a lot of lists as greatest quarterback of all time, okay, because of the fact he won. He was 4-0 in Super Bowls. The Niners were the team of the 80s at that point. Joe even got the Chiefs at that point to a conference title game. The reason I say I use that comparison with Hurts is Montana often did not have the prettiest games. There were times when Montana looked human, and in a sense of bad pick, would get into a slump. Look, the last couple years of his career, a lot of people said Steve Young would have done that. That, to me, if you look at it that way, Hurts is as close to Montana as I can tell since then. Because Brady has Brady had more talent, obviously, and he combined that winning is everything thing. The numbers were Manning's thing. The numbers were Marino's thing. The numbers were Elway's thing. I think Hurts has more of that Montana mindset of, I just want to win. And I'm going to find a way to win no matter what the situation is. And I'm going to act pretty cool about it, too.
Well, yeah. And I remember last year, what was it, the pretty privilege comment that I think still rings in my head, because I think that while the Eagles become one of the most hateable brands right now, I think in sports, as people watch football every Sunday and they watch this team win,
you become hateable.
Right. Part of what is hateable about Hurts is the way in which, like, for an outside audience, I don't want this to come across, I hate Jalen Hurts. That's not the point of this conversation. I think for the outside audience that hates Jalen Hurts, I think part of it is also, like, the swagger in which he carries himself, or the way in which he carries himself, where people are like, he wins, he says all these things that could be T-shirts, he comes in dressed, looking good, and, like, people like that. People almost have the envy of, like, if I could have that, what would my team be like? What would our city be like? That's, I think, where the envy outside comes in. But I'm curious for people inside this city, because it's an interesting phenomenon to watch people react to what exactly this offense is. It always comes back to the quarterback. There's nothing different about that than any other football conversation. But I see this on a national stage happen where they ask the question if Jalen Hurts is. And I'm curious for people locally at 610-632-0975 to answer that for us. Jalen Hurts is. Finish that sentence for us. I'll be interested what we get on the text line of ways that people finish it. You finish it with a winner, I say, is always going to be there at the end.
Right.
Like, that always feels like you are going to have the ability to be there at the end with a guy of his mentality.
You want to enter a year with the belief that you could go to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And Hurts gives you that mindset right away.
With that, I say mentality. And we talk all the time, I think, as a national football conversation about measurables, this, that. What can you measure? The intangible, the mentality. How much do we actually put weight into that as a fan base, and how much do you put weight into that as a fan of the sport? Because Dan Orlovsky spoke on Jalen Hurts yesterday, and it goes to this conversation. We'll play that for you coming up next. We're getting into some Eagles early on here, bottom of the hour. I need to know what we're rooting for this week across the baseball world. He's Kevin Cooney. I'm Ray Dunn. This is Middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Kincade and
And let's go there with the passing offense, because it was a lot of our conversation yesterday with, hey, fantastic to get that win in Kansas City. A really good job of going on the road against the reigning AFC champs where they were in a desperate spot. Great job getting that win. But that passing offense right now, not where you would, I guess, expect a team with the talent they have to be. What are you seeing right now in this passing offense that needs to be corrected most?
Yeah, I mean, corrected is a tough word. Let's first go to the root of what I hear a lot of people saying, and I just myself don't believe it to be true, and that's just not my opinion. I've watched the tape. I've been fortunate to watch tape with some really smart people, former football players, former Eagles who've helped school me on things to look for and concepts. Greg Cosell is a part of our Inside the Birds family, and he's one of the top tape breakdown guys in all of the land, right? And the first thing you're looking for with new offensive coordinator Kevin Patulo is he doing something different? Is he trying to add something to this offense that it's not catered to do? Is he not suiting it to the strengths of his personnel? And I can definitively tell you that the offense conceptually is built and looks and is designed the same way it's been for the last few years. So the idea that it's Kevin Patulo's fault and he's doing something that the other guys weren't doing is completely false. Now, I'm not saying he's flawless, and obviously he's 2 games into the first time as a coordinator, and so there's a feel for a game. There's an understanding of when to call certain plays at the right time, and that's something that is developed along the way. And clearly, Kellen Moore came with that already, whereas Kevin Patulo didn't have it. Brian Johnson 2 years ago didn't have it at the NFL level. So I understand sort of people saying, oh, man, this reminds me of 2 years ago. But the difference is they have Saquon here, and conceptually they're keeping things the same. So when Kevin Patulo is calling a certain play from his menu, that menu isn't all that different from the menu of last year and the year before, because the Eagles understand this better than anyone because it's their building and their players. They understand what their offense should look like, how it should run, what is the best way to run it. They're not like a team that runs like 1,000 different route concepts and route designs. They do what they do really well. They run the ball typically, and then they try to get the shot play that Jalen Hurts likes so much. And so when you ask what's corrected, Ray, he took about 4 or 5 deep shots in the game against the Chiefs, but only one of them connected. Obviously, it was the most important one to Devontae Smith, but he missed Devontae earlier in the game on a similar one. He missed A.J. Brown on one that kind of I think he got hit, or there was so much traffic in his face. You might remember it was pretty early. It floated. A.J. actually caught it out of bounds and got hit, and everybody thought it was a late hit. There were about 4 or 5 plays that you typically see him and Brown and Devontae connect on that in the first 2 weeks just haven't been there.
Alongside Kevin Cooney, I'm Ray Dunn, taking you to the midday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Today, we're asking you to finish the sentence. Jalen Hurts is, Kevin saying, a winner, saying always going to be there at the end. I see already early on in the YouTube chat here, we got a couple of things rolling here. Neil, Jalen Hurts is good enough to win with this Eagles roster. Jay...
Yeah, but Neil's a hater.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware. Yeah, well, listen, I've been in this YouTube game for a long time.
I know.
Kevin.
And I love Neil. I do. But, Neil, you're a bit of a hater.
Jay King here saying Hurts is more Seattle Russ than Montana. I'm waiting for JM's. JM. Jalen Hurts is Jim McMahon. Is the JM, I think, goes beyond Neil on that spectrum of Hurts conversation.
Jalen Hurts in 3 years has gone to more Super Bowls than Jim McMahon did.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I'm reading what the people are saying here. Let's see. Where else we got on this one? Let's go to the text line here at 610-632-0975 for, again, the sense of Jalen Hurts is...
A little bit different of a tune, but Jalen Hurts is clutch, according to from Tim from Dayton. He says, big games, big moments. He always makes the plays that need to be made.
All right, like that, the clutch.
That's a pretty good one, too.
And I know this conversation came out of yesterday of, like, how much credit do you give a guy that's part of the reason why you get in the situation, credit for getting out of the situation? For me, I think watching that first half the way it went, obviously he's a part of what's going on offensively through those first 10 quarters of the season. But you can't deny he's the driving force of that offense turning it around in that second half. And that, to me, yeah, you give him credit because they finally had something click offensively, and it clicked in a way that was, again, driven by what he was doing. And on top of that, I think there are other quarterbacks across the league that benefit a great deal statistically from the fact that they put themselves in precarious situations early on in games and have to throw themselves out of it. Like Hurts falling behind in a game and then having the highest number of passing yards he's had this season and ended up with 3 passing touchdowns after not having one in the first 2. There's correlation there. That's why I think when we judge quarterbacks so much on stats, I think more of the context of the team they're on is important when you start going about ranking out your quarterbacks.
Yeah, I get it. And look, I think the other part of the Hurts conversation, and I think it has hurt him, is the idea that he's had so many offensive coordinators it feels like he has to break in. Yeah, between Steichen and Johnson and Moore and now, Patulo. And by the way, this was going to be a part of my rant until about 3:15 on Sunday for postgame.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the problems. And look, I get it. People are going to say this is Sirianni hate. But this is part of the problem with your head coach who's an offensive mind not having a steady offensive philosophy, it feels like, or is strong enough to take over offensive play calling in situations like what happened in the first half against the Rams. Well, I think that has hurt Jalen Hurts a lot. I think that because all of them, he's almost had so many learning curves he had to go through that I think that has made some of this ineffectiveness just kind of baked into the stats and the numbers.
Yeah, I think that's a part of it. And to go to the Sirianni conversation, I think a lot of people with what they don't like with the offense the first couple of weeks goes back to when we make the Brian Johnson comparison, you also have to realize that the Brian Johnson comparison bakes in Sirianni's influence on that offense.
Yeah.
And the different influential minds they've had on this offense has changed every single year. There are parts of blame to go around with it. So Sirianni doesn't, I think, escape blame in what you saw from the first 10 quarters. So I'm with you on that. I think that there has to be an acknowledgement of, and this is kind of what I got into yesterday about the McVay, Sirianni back and forth. When you talk about just designing a game plan and putting together what you want from an offensive standpoint, nobody in the world is going to tell you they're taking Sirianni over McVay. But when you talk about game management, actual in-game decision-making, the reason why I think you're 4-0 over McVay in the Sirianni era is because I think Sirianni, where there's inconsistency in the offensive philosophy, there's a consistency in terms of game management, his philosophy there that McVay has yet to still really identify within himself.
Well, look, and McVay, Pam Oliver said before kickoff the other day, and you may have been in your car going home, but Pam Oliver said that McVay made this big deal about the fact that they were going to be ultra aggressive in this game, and there's no holding back and everything. And then he got passive.
Yeah.
And that's what Sirianni would not do.
And it's inconsistent because they do go for it on 4th down, but then they're kicking a field goal. They kick all those field goals early on. They just take the game to the half.
4th and goal from the 2.
Right.
He kicks the field goal.
Yeah, what? 4th and 3 from the 15.
Yeah.
Kicks a field goal. Going into the half, plays for a field goal. Like, when at that point, they were moving the ball. I mean, they had moved the ball consistently on that defense.
Even on the last drive. Like, they didn't take a shot at the end zone at all. Like,
No.
It was just, after you saw a kick blocked, that you're not taking one shot at the end zone. I don't know if you're afraid to give the ball back to the Eagles with time left. Yeah, Sean McVay would be blistered in this town for the way he coached that game. Yep.
Again, when you talk about putting together an offense, all with what McVay's able to do.
Yep.
We talk about in-game management. That's where the concern was, the conversation was yesterday. Going back to the text line here on the Jalen Hurts is, before we get to Dan Orlovsky here, what do we got?
All right, a lot of people checking in. We have from Steve from Haverton, Jalen Hurts is a damn dog.
Oh, all right.
That's basically what I said.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
We have some people taking this a little literally as well.
A
saying
quarterback?
Hurts is Robert Horry. He shows up in the clutch.
All right. Did not think we were going to get
That's
Robert
not
Horry.
bad, actually, though.
conversation.
We also have another literal one is a Super Bowl MVP and a winner.
Yeah, I knew we were going to get the Super Bowl MVP. I figured there was going to be one person that was like, people forget. I have not forgotten. I don't think you've forgotten. You've not forgotten. Dan Orlovsky hasn't forgotten. He might have forgotten when he said he could not get Jalen Hurts into the top 5 conversation. He could not consider that because yesterday, it was on ESPN, talking about the performance from Jalen Hurts, and this is what he had to say about the Eagles quarterback.
Jalen, that second half was about as good as I've seen him play. I think it's about as good as you can play. I mean, there was 3 or 4 plays in that second half that you go, that's the play of the game. That's the play of the game. The double move to A.J. Brown, the touchdown pass to A.J. Brown when he checks it, the 3rd and 10 in route to Devontae Smith, the 4th and goal ball where he sees the safety and Devontae wins on that little out route. It was just unbelievable. I love the way that they put A.J. Brown by himself on those 3rd downs and said, we got the best receiver in football, or certainly one of them. Let's go give him a chance. And the thing that stands out to me, throws are perfect. You know, as much as sometimes, and I've been critical of this, of being like, is Jalen Hurts that good at throwing the ball? Now, A.J. going back, strong hands on some of those crow routes. But the fact that they made that adjustment to put A.J. by himself and said, go win, Jalen made the plays, and I think that Fred Johnson going to right tackle was a big deal because after Lane Johnson got hurt prior, ended up getting beat up. Fred Johnson solidified it. If we took Jalen out there with 14 other quarterbacks in the league and we just put him in shorts and we just watched him throw, I don't know if he would be in your top 10 as far as just watching him do that. But all that dude does is figure out what takes to win that game and goes and does it. That's why you got to put him in your top 5 conversation.
Dan Orlovsky, now all of a sudden putting him in the top 5 conversation. And that's an important part of this conversation, what he says leading up to that as well. Because so much of what people don't appreciate and what people will say to, again, downplay what he is as a quarterback is that first part right there, where if you just put him out there in shorts with like, hey, no name brand attached to any of these guys, just watch him throw, is he going to be a guy that you pick first, second, third of those guys? No, but it goes to the intangible of the conversation of, do we not acknowledge enough, or are there people that do not acknowledge enough the actual intangible, the mentality, those things that drive the success of what he has?
Yeah, and I think we saw those intangibles the other day, probably as much as we've seen them since he's been here. I think, I know what was said by Sirianni yesterday. I don't know how you viewed it. To me, it looked like he called plays in the second half.
And that's what I wanted to get into coming up here. We're going to play that Sirianni clip for you.
Yeah.
With the question of who's in charge here when it comes to this offense. Because you said that to me off the air this morning. You are not the only one to believe that in this town right now. I have a hard time believing it. But we'll have that conversation coming up and play the Sirianni audio talking about who was in charge in that second half. Alongside Kevin Cooney, I'm Ray Dunn, taking through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Who's in charge of that second half? Well, we'll see. The Eagles offense can turn a corner with that as well. I'm Sean Rodman, and Nick Sirianni told the media that nothing's changed from a play calling aspect in the second half on Sunday.
Kevin called plays yesterday in that second half. But make no mistake about it, like Jalen does a great job of communicating. Jalen sees the field really, really, really well. He can come back and tell you what happened without even looking at the picture.
We'll see if the offense can continue its second half play heading into Tampa this week. The Birds will reportedly leave on Friday to try and get acclimated to the heat in Florida, which is a day earlier than usual. The Eagles have claimed wide receiver and kick returner Xavier Gibson off waivers to help on kickoffs after a poor performance against the Rams. The coordinators will speak starting at 11:30. We'll carry that live for you here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And the Phillies' magic number for a bye is down to 2 games. The Phils are back in action tonight, starting a 3-game series at home versus the Marlins. Christopher Sanchez scheduled to get the start for the Phils, and Eduardo Cabrera for the Marlins. First pitch is at 6:45. This update is brought to you by ExpressPros.com. Getting a new job can be easier with Express Employment Professionals. With Express, you'll have a local connection to the job market. Get started at ExpressPros.com to find a location near you. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And let's go there with the passing offense, because it was a lot of our conversation yesterday with, hey, fantastic to get that win in Kansas City. A really good job of going on the road against the reigning AFC champs where they were in a desperate spot. Great job getting that win. But that passing offense right now not where you would, I guess, expect a team with the talent they have to be. What are you seeing right now in this passing offense that needs to be corrected most?
Yeah, I mean, corrected is a tough word. Let's first go to the root of what I hear a lot of people saying, and I just myself don't believe it to be true, and that's just not my opinion. I've watched the tape. I've been fortunate to watch tape with some really smart people, former football players, former Eagles who have helped school me on things to look for and concepts. Greg Cosell is a part of our Inside the Birds family, and he's one of the top tape breakdown guys in all of the land, right? And the first thing you're looking for with new offensive coordinator Kevin Patulo is he doing something different? Is he trying to add something to this offense that it's not catered to do? Is he not suiting it to the strengths of his personnel? And I can definitively tell you that the offense conceptually is built and looks and is designed the same way it's been for the last few years. So the idea that it's Kevin Patulo's fault and he's doing something that the other guys weren't doing is completely false. Now, I'm not saying he's flawless, and obviously he's 2 games into the first time as a coordinator, and so there's a feel for a game. There's an understanding of when to call certain plays at the right time, and that's something that is developed along the way. And clearly, Kellen Moore came with that already, whereas Kevin Patulo didn't have it. Brian Johnson 2 years ago didn't have it at the NFL level. So I understand sort of people saying, "Oh man, this reminds me of 2 years ago." But the difference is they have Saquon here, and conceptually they are keeping things the same. So when Kevin Patulo is calling a certain play from his menu, that menu isn't all that different from the menu of last year and the year before, because the Eagles understand this better than anyone because it's their building and their players. They understand what their offense should look like, how it should run, what is the best way to run it. They're not like a team that runs like 1,000 different route concepts and route designs. They do what they do really well. They run the ball typically, and then they try to get the shot play that Jalen Hurts likes so much. And so when you ask what's corrected, Ray, he took about 4 or 5 deep shots in the game against the Chiefs, but only one of them connected. Obviously, it was the most important one to Devontae Smith, but he missed Devontae earlier in the game on a similar one. He missed A.J. Brown on one that kind of I think he got hit, or there was so much traffic in his face. You might remember it was pretty early. It floated. A.J. actually caught it out of bounds and got hit, and everybody thought it was a late hit. There were about 4 or 5 plays that you typically see him and Brown and Devontae connect on that in the first 2 weeks just haven't been there.
And let's go there with the passing offense, because it was a lot of our conversation yesterday with, hey, fantastic to get that win in Kansas City. A really good job of going on the road against the reigning AFC champs where they were in a desperate spot. Great job getting that win. But that passing offense right now, not where you would, I guess, expect a team with the talent they have to be. What are you seeing right now in this passing offense that needs to be corrected most?
Yeah, I mean, corrected is a tough word. Let's first go to the root of
5, the Fanatic.
I achieved my goal already. I cracked them up right before we came back from break.
Alongside Kevin Cooney, I'm pretty done. Yeah, it's quite fun. Quite fun. We have a good time. We work together. As we get you set for a little bit more Birds conversation. We'll get to the Phillies coming up later on the bottom of the hour here. But I want to jump into a little bit of the conversation of who's in charge. We've gotten into early on here at 610-632-0975. The Jalen Hurts is conversation, and you can finish that sentence on our text line, 610-632-0975. But on top of that, the conversation about Hurts following Sunday and really into yesterday and today includes who was in charge come the second half. Because we saw the back and forth on the sideline with Hurts and Patulo, talking things over, perhaps boldly back and forth. Is that a nice way to put it?
Animately.
Yes, there you go. Having a strong conversation. That's strong back and forth. They were discussing things on the sideline of the second half of that game as they made their comeback. And it raised the question of, okay, this looked a lot different from the first 2.5 games of football we saw in Philadelphia. What changed? Did the play caller change? Did Jalen Hurts become his own play caller? Well, Sirianni's asked about who was in charge in that second half.
Yeah, Kevin called the plays yesterday in that second half. But make no mistake about it, like Jalen does a great job of communicating. Jalen sees the field really, really, really well. He can come back and tell you what happened without even looking at the picture. And then you look at the picture, like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Jalen has a great feel for how that's going. And so there's communication, right? There's talk through it, everything like that. Kevin will continue to call the plays, but I love the communication that we get from Jalen. I love the communication that we get from, all our guys. I think, we get a lot of good information from our guys, Jalen particularly, and that's the way it should be. He's a quarterback. But you don't trust every quarterback. You trust the ones that are telling you what they see, and Jalen does a really good job of telling us that in the game. I really like the relationship that they have. Probably a better question for them. I know they're close. I know they spend a lot of time together talking through the plan. I know they spend a lot of time together going through situations. A better question for them, but I do value that relationship that those two have.
It's a better question for them, right? Better question for them. Who was calling the plays in the second half? Yeah, I love, obviously, what he's done for this team as the coach. But listening to that answer, that was this meeting could have been an email of answers, which is basically most of his answers at press conference. But to get to the actual crux of that, he says Kevin Patulo's calling the plays in the second half.
I need a Tylenol.
With input from Jalen Hurts. I'll be honest with you. I'm not really in the conspiracy camp of this one. Like, Hurts had to have taken over the play calling because it looks so different. It's Hurts now running the offense. Well, things changed, but things needed to change.
One, they went to an up-tempo drill, so it's more likely Hurts was calling plays in a 2-minute hurry-up offense kind of drill that they went to after the first catch by A.J. Brown. Okay? The fact that he came to the sidelines, and I told you I'd tell you this story in the back. Who did Jalen Hurts spend a lot of time picking the brain of this summer?
Michael Jordan?
Yeah. It brings me to a Jordan. I've invoked Jordan and Montana in the first hour.
Good thing we're not getting carried away with the comparisons here.
I know. There was a story that an NBA writer told me from a coach, Jordan's former coach, who they were down 3. It was a late game timeout. Jordan grabs the white clipboard, goes to the coach. I want you to draw me up the best blankety-blank play you can. Guy does the play, everything, thinks it's his best play in his playbook. Jordan goes, that play ain't stuff. Scratches it off, just goes, give me the ball. Right? Jordan goes, hits a 3, game goes to overtime. As he's walking back to the bench, Jordan goes, bailed your rear end out again. Except he didn't say rear end.
I'm sure.
To me, watching that moment of Hurts on the sidelines with Patulo felt a little bit like I always heard that story of this is the way we do it. This is how we play offense with this team, and I'm bailing you out again.
See, I think there's an element to truth to that. You mentioned up-tempo, so he has much more of a say in what's happening in that moment. But I think so much of, like, he's just in control. Patulo's now just, like, the observer here as Hurts is cooking. I think that's a simplification of what Patulo's role in that moment is. Like, I think that back and forth with Hurts was like, that's what we can do. Like, that's what we are capable of doing.
And I
That's
would
what it
say
should look like.
Patulo maybe with packages and everything. So maybe it is if you're putting different personnel out on the field and everything, maybe that's his contribution to that. But Hurts, maybe you trust enough to go look at the field. He's not a guy who's forcing turnovers. Like ever since the last 2 years.
Since that Bucs game.
Yeah.
I mean, since the bye. That's where they've gone philosophy-wise. They don't want to turn the ball over. That is what they go to every end to tell you that they want to win that battle of the turnovers. They want to win the battle of explosive plays. You win those two things, that's great for you. It's funny that they think those things work in conjunction there, but hey, that's worked out for them. But I can't go all the way to the side of Jalen Hurts took over because I think you just saw what they needed to do in that moment. The moment necessitated them to air it out and start throwing the football.
Yep.
And Patulo, even if you think Patulo is not qualified to do his job, not good at his job, whatever we want to go there, the man being an offensive coordinator in the NFL has to realize in that moment, down the way he was down in that game, you have to air the football out. So I don't think that all of a sudden it was like, oh, yeah, it's like the I'll speak to the way too online culture, like the Drake meme of like, oh, that's how the computer works. You know, they point, oh, that's what we're supposed to do in this moment. I don't think he's showing him how to do it specifically there. I can accept that there is definitely an aspect of him having an influence on what they were doing offensively, but I think we are so quick to bury the offensive coordinator for what he did over the first 10 quarters. The fact that the offense changes in that second half, I'm not going to tell you that I think we should build the guy a statue. We should throw a parade that he figured out how to call an offense. But I think to not give him any sort of credit in that moment understates his responsibilities.
No, but the test now for Patulo comes this week. If whatever they found in the second half does not get incorporated in that first half of play calling on Sunday, that's when all the doubts start coming in.
And I think that we're going to see also what he learned from the Chiefs game, because you're going to get blitzed, I think, at a similar rate this week.
Probably, yeah.
And I think
right.
if you 2 weeks later don't have an answer to the blitz that at least pushes the ball down the field more, that's an issue. That's a massive issue. So I think that's the answer we get this week. But I'm not yet to the Hurts was. I think what you're saying about Hurts, let me take over this, let me have this moment. I can get on board with that, but I can't get on board with him just having full control, and we're just saying Patulo's riding passenger here. And I don't think Sirianni took over for sure.
No, because that offense looked good.
Oh, come on. I mean, that's what I was alluding to right there. But yes, coming up this week, we'll get back to some Eagles conversation. But I just think listening to that, like, I get how down we are on Kevin Patulo. The new guy is always going to be the one that, if things are different, is the one blamed for it. But I can't yet get to the point of, like, there's nothing he did in that second half that was to credit him for. That it was all Hurts. I'm all for giving Hurts his due.
Yeah.
But I think we're giving a little too much to do on that one. Coming up this week, 6 games of baseball remain in the regular season. For the Phillies, it means a little. For the rest of the National League, what does it mean and what are we rooting for? Oh, the downfall up north. Oh, no. Oh, no. We'll get to it.
Put Frank the Tank on notice here.
Alongside Kevin Cooney, I'm Ray Dunn. This is Middays 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, everybody, it's Bill Calarulo. But I will say this. Like, if you can't beat the Eagles when they play a first half like that, is anybody going to beat this team? Like, and that's not even hyperbole. I mean,
it's not going to be easy.
Listen to this, Ricky. Not only are they 3-0 on the season, they are 19-1 in their last 20 games. Do you know how crazy that is? Do you know how spoiled we are right now as a fan base? They have won 19 of their last 20 games. They're 17-0 when Jalen Hurts starts and finishes. Think about that for a second. 17 straight wins with Jalen Hurts starting and finishing the game. Here's another wild stat. Jalen Hurts just had his 19th straight game without throwing for 300 yards.
That's unbelievable.
They're 18-1.
Yeah, but you don't need
18-1.
You don't need it. I mean, this
you can't beat this team.
I mean, for the most part, let's face it, this offense is very efficient. For the most part, in his time period here. I'm not saying the first 2 games of the season were real efficient, but you look at that second half in yesterday's game. That was efficiency. That was, you know what it was? It was almost like everybody got on the same tempo. You know what I mean? You look at the first half, they were getting it handed to them. And I'm not talking I'm not talking just score-wise, but like physically, the Eagles were getting it handed to them. And I think that surprised me the most. Out of all that happened in the game yesterday, I think the Eagles being out-physicaled in the first half and beaten badly in the trenches early on, I think that stood out to me. And then they said, no, we're not going to take it anymore. And they turn this thing around. They end up coming back. They end up winning on the scoreboard. And if you're taking it like last week, you have to take this win as a win. No matter what happened in the first half, you just got to take it. It's a win.
After that strip sack, the Rams score. It's 26-7. On the next drive, 5 plays, 89 yards for a touchdown, and you saw him go deep to A.J. Then he goes deep over the middle to Dallas Goedert. They follow that up with a 13-play, 72-yard touchdown drive. But for me, I mean, the best part of the whole day, that final drive in the fourth quarter, 17 plays, 91 yards. Do you know they picked up 4 third-down conversions on that drive?
Yep.
And a fourth-down touchdown pass to Devontae Smith.
Oh, my
Ice
goodness.
in the veins, man. Jalen Hurts, this is why he's so damn good.
This does not happen to a regular team. Let me put it this way. Almost every other team in the league, not necessarily quits, but kind of goes on cruise control. Instead, they were like, you know what? We got to find our offense now. Let's kick it in gear. Let's see what happens. And I almost think it was opposite. Usually when you're in the lead, you don't go into cruise control until like halfway through the fourth quarter with that big of a lead. Instead, it was kind of like they played the Rams played a little complacent, and you know what the Eagles did? They smacked them right in the mouth.
Made quite a revelation here. You know, you can watch the show on YouTube, as you can at 97.5 The Fanatic on YouTube.
As I do during my lunch breaks, you know.
And I appreciate that about you, Kevin. It's good to have you here today.
Yes.
During the day, in the daylight.
In the daylight, I get to walk out in daylight,
Fall,
too.
yeah, good to see you.
Unbelievable.
Sean Robin produces the show. I'm Ray Dunn. But I found out that apparently one of our YouTube commenters has blocked me on YouTube from commenting.
Oh, Dave.
Which is an interesting way to consume the show. You can stand me as a radio host, but it's the YouTube commenting that sets you over the edge. You're tuned into the show, but me responding to a YouTube comment apparently is too far.
And Dave just said he won't let me unblock people now. YouTube will not let him unblock you.
I don't know what I could have commented. I could understand not standing me in terms of the host, but to still be engaged with the show while having me blocked on YouTube
That's
is a
awesome.
very, very funny dichotomy there.
I'll be honest, that I kind of tipped my hat to him.
I
in
respect
a strange
it.
way. Oh,
Are you
yeah.
kidding me? I said it yesterday. Hate listening, still listening. So I appreciate you still listening.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Thanks for engaging with the show. The problem is I can't see your engagement with the show when you have me blocked. I can't see what you're saying.
I love the 20. I love 2025.
I love our YouTube chat. All right.
I do too.
We'll get back to the Hurts conversation, the Eagles conversation, but there are 6 games to be had, baseball-wise.
I'm sorry, I just read Dawood. I think you know where he went.
Yep, I'm going back to the Phillies conversation here. Talk about circling bases on the baseball field. All right.
I've
6
heard that
games
about
this
you.
week. The Phillies wrap up with a rather easy 6-game stretch. In a 6-game stretch.
Marlins are feisty.
Yeah. But,
Marlins are still alive, by the way, technically.
How are we going to go down the path where the Marlins are actually having a chance here to do something?
No, I'm just telling you that they're alive on the last week of the season to me is a complete stunner.
And congratulations to the good people of Miami for that one. I'm sure they're celebrating right now, still being alive the last week of the season. 4 games under 500. Only 4 back of the Mets, which I guess raised the banner
Only
on that one.
Only 2.5 ahead of the Braves, who have been eliminated for like a week now. Who were eliminated after they won 9 in a row.
That has to,
That has to hurt.
Good though for the replacement level guys they got this sport playing for that team. Looking at the six the rest of the way, Marlins, Twins.
Twins are awful.
Yeah, like I don't know what they're going to trot out there come the weekend. I mean, I think this is going to be a lot of week about rest, rehab, get yourself ready to go.
Chris Sanchez is scheduled to pitch on Sunday, but I would imagine that's a 2-inning, get your work in.
Yeah.
Almost like a side session kind of deal.
Right. 2-3 innings. Taiwan? Bulk?
Oh,
I don't know when he starts next, so maybe not. I was thinking about, as I said it, I was like, no, you're an idiot for that one because I think he's going to start somewhere in this week, so he can't do the bulk for you. Walker Buehler? Bulk.
Oh, come on down.
Yeah. Go from closing out the World Series to closing out game 162. Oh, man, this sport changes fast on you. But 6 games for them this week, Marlins and the Twins. Looking down the line then, it's really about where that 6th seed goes here at this point. Because I am going to operate, even though I guess I can't necessarily operate under the assumption the Dodgers are going to win the West because it is still close.
Probable.
They're probably going to win the West.
Although they get Arizona this week, so.
And that's an interesting wrinkle into the whole thing. The Diamondbacks have a good week. What does it do for them? Dodgers have a good week. They close out so that series will be interesting to watch this week from a perspective of a guy who loves watching himself some West Coast baseball. But the 6 left for those 3 teams left there going for number 6. The Reds currently occupy that last postseason spot. The Mets were in postseason positioning from April 5th all the way to the end of this weekend.
Right.
It's incredible to see them outside of the postseason picture this week.
Lose the tiebreaker to the Reds.
Right, so they're not technically in a postseason spot right now. They've got the Cubs on the road, then they've got the Marlins on the road to close out the season. The Reds have the Pirates at home and then 3 against Milwaukee at Milwaukee. And the Diamondbacks, you mentioned Dodgers during the week this week, Padres during the weekend. So they're up against it. They could wreak a lot of havoc in what happens in the NL West. They have a good week, and the Dodgers might win the NL West just because the Diamondbacks had a good week. If you had it your way, Kevin Kuhn, who's getting that 6th seed? Who this week is like, all right, let me just, not that you're rooting totally for him, but.
I hate saying it. It would be the Mets. Because I don't think the Mets have a snowball's chance against whoever comes out of the West. If you throw the Reds in there and you look at their starting pitching staff, could they take 2 or 3 from LA and come here and maybe cause your heart to flutter a little bit in the NLDS? Yeah, I think it could. Do I want to see? Do I want to see De La Cruz? Not really. They're the one team I don't want to see.
Austin Hayes has a signature moment.
That would be like that'd be a knife in the back.
Yeah.
Arizona, boy, the bottom 5 in their lineup is awful. I wouldn't mind Arizona coming here. I kind of don't want the Reds. I don't want the Reds to get in because I think also their manager would be the best in the National League playoffs by far. Francona just would outmanage. He'll outmanage Roberts. I guarantee it.
I mean, after some of the display that I've watched for the Dodgers over the last month or so, yeah, I would believe that to be the case, that Roberts can be outdone when it comes to not just Francona, but in general. I think he can be outdone.
Yeah, I do.
In this postseason. I kind of believe, and I know what we said on the show, and I don't know, Sean, I don't believe you were here for that day. I believe it was Austin that was producing the show. The day I made the Skyline Chili promise.
No, I remember that one. That was me.
What's the Skyline Chili promise?
That if the Reds were to help the Phillies get the top seed, that I would eat Skyline Chili.
Oh God! Why would you do? Why would you do that?
Because
to
they'd have the top seed. That was the promise. I was making a little bit of a truce with Cincinnati, which I've called out as for one
backwater Hicktown. Yeah,
that's what you said. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to fight you on that. So I'm going to let you have that moment. They're not going to be able to help you get the top seed at this point. So I really feel like I can call that one off. I don't want to see Cincinnati for the reasons you laid out of the starting pitching. It basically is, do you want to avoid the better pitching staff or the House of Horrors? Because going to Citi Field or going out to Arizona for some people is going to bring back, I was calling it the NLPTSDS.
Yeah.
Like that basically is what it'll end up becoming. I want to avoid the better pitching staff. I'm going to go for the worst pitching staffs of either the Mets or the Diamondbacks as compared to the Reds. I would love...
The Mets would fit that.
Yeah. Chaos Bowl, I think the Mets right now, just the way they've been, like, I don't know if they even get past the Dodgers.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
I hard time believing the Diamondbacks get past the Dodgers either. It's amazing. One of these teams is probably going to end up with like 83 wins and in this thing.
Yeah.
Like this, there's a chance that they are worse than what the Diamondbacks were the year the Diamondbacks beat the Phillies, where it's an 83-win team instead of the 84-win team. That 6th seed continues year by year, it feels like, to drop in terms of the overall win total. I don't remember what last year's was, but it went from, 87 the year the Phillies did it at 2022 to 84 with the Diamondbacks. And last year, looking at it, it ended up being at 89. So at least the power went up last year in terms of the wins. But
Mets, by the way, they split a season series with Arizona. So it would go to the second tiebreaker, which I think is National League record, and I think the Diamondbacks would win that. So the Diamondbacks, I think, would win. The Mets would lose both tiebreakers at this point. You don't play the old playing game.
Right, yeah, no 163. So, all right, so our rooting interest this week is against the Reds, but caveat of Mets missing the playoffs is still probably one of the greatest storylines for my year. I would celebrate
in the
that.
National League, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest in the sport this year.
No, but I would celebrate it wholeheartedly.
Oh, yeah.
And while we're talking about the matchups in the postseason, Bryce Harper said it the other day. We didn't get a chance to talk about it yesterday because we were kind of preoccupied with the football game that happened. Talking about the bye. I have heard this permeate the fan base already. I want to get out in front of this conversation. Going to have it. Going to tell you why.
You want to have therapy on it.
Yes. Why you should want the bye. Why we...
There's an easy reason.
Yes. And I can't have people continue to say, well, I'd actually just rather them play. I know they're not going to get it. Drives me nuts. I'll get to it. He's Kevin Cooney. I'm Ray Dunn. This is Middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Is the Eagles' offense turning a corner? I'm Sean Rodman, and Nick Sirianni told the media nothing has changed from the play calling aspect in the second half on Sunday against the Rams.
Kevin called the plays yesterday in that second half. But make no mistake about it, like Jalen does a great job of communicating. Jalen sees the field really, really, really well. He can come back and tell you what happened without even looking at the picture.
We'll see if the offense can continue its play heading into Tampa. The Birds will reportedly leave on Friday to try to get acclimated to the heat in Florida, which is a day earlier than usual. The Eagles have claimed wide receiver and kick returner Xavier Gibson off of waivers to help on kickoffs after a poor performance against the Rams in the kick return game. The coordinators will speak today starting at around 11:30. We'll carry that live for you here on 97.5 The Fanatic. The Phillies' magic number for a bye is down to 2 games. The Phils are back in action tonight, starting a 3-game series at home versus the Marlins. Christopher Sanchez is scheduled to get the start for the Phils tonight, and Edward Cabrera for the Marlins. First pitch is at 6:45. This update is brought to you by Discover. Do you know what's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide? If you guessed Discover, you guessed right, based on the February 2024 Nielsen report. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
But I will say this. Like, if you can't beat the Eagles when they play a first half like that, is anybody going to beat this team? Like, and that's not even hyperbole. I mean,
it's not going to be easy.
Listen to this, Ricky. Not only are they 3-0 on the season, they are 19-1 in their last 20 games. Do you know how crazy that is? Do you know how spoiled we are right now as a fan base? They have won 19 of their last 20 games. They're 17-0 when Jalen Hurts starts and finishes. Think about that for a second. 17 straight wins with Jalen Hurts starting and finishing the game. Here's another wild stat. Jalen Hurts just had his 19th straight game without throwing for 300 yards.
That's unbelievable.
They're 18-1.
Yeah, but you don't need
18-1.
You don't need it. I mean, this
you can't
offense,
beat this team.
I mean, for the most part, let's face it, this offense is very efficient. For the most part, in his time period here. I'm not saying the first 2 games of the season were real efficient, but you look at that second half in yesterday's game. That was efficiency. That was, you know what it was? It was almost like everybody got on the same tempo. You know what I mean? You look at the first half, they were getting it handed to them. And I'm not talking just score-wise, but like physically, the Eagles were getting it handed to them, and I think that surprised me the most out of all that happened in the game yesterday. I think the Eagles being out physicaled in the first half and beaten badly in the trenches early on, I think that stood out to me. And then they said, no, we're not going to take it anymore. And they turn this thing around. They end up coming back. They end up winning on the scoreboard. And if you're taking it like last week, you have to take this win as a win. No matter what happened in the first half, you just got to take it. It's a win.
After that strip sack, the Rams score. It's 26-7. On the next drive, 5 plays, 89 yards for a touchdown, and you saw him go deep to A.J. Then he goes deep over the middle to Dallas Goedert. They follow that up with a 13-play, 72-yard touchdown drive. But for me, I mean, the best part of the whole day, that final drive in the fourth quarter, 17 plays, 91 yards. Do you know they picked up 4 third-down conversions on that drive?
Yep.
And a fourth-down touchdown pass to Devontae Smith.
Oh, my
Ice
goodness.
in the veins, man. Jalen Hurts, this is why he's so damn good.
This does not happen to a regular team. Let me put it this way. Almost every other team in the league not necessarily quits, but kind of goes on cruise control. Instead, they were like, you know what? We got to find our offense now. Let's kick it in gear. Let's see what happens. And I almost think it was opposite. Usually when you're in the lead, you don't go into cruise control until like halfway through the fourth quarter with that big of a lead. Instead, it was kind of like they played the Rams played a little complacent, and you know what the Eagles did? They smacked them right in the mouth.
WPN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group Station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities alongside Kevin Cooney. I'm Ray Dunn, hanging out with you here on The Fanatic. Getting into some Phillies conversation. We've decided anti-Reds, but also anti-Mets. I'm kind of anti-everyone in the race, unfortunately. That's kind of what it comes down to. I would prefer not to see the hated Mets, the hated Diamondbacks get in, but also I realize in the rational side of my brain, the two of them a better matchup than the Reds in a potential divisional series matchup. I don't want to see the team with the good pitching staff get in.
I'm right there with you.
I can't let myself let go of what I witnessed at Citi Field. I've let go of it in the sense of the Mets are not good enough, but I'm rooting against the Mets because they're the Mets more than anything else. And I think them falling out of the postseason picture, especially. Did you see? You probably were working yesterday, so you didn't hear this. I tweeted out something very mundane Saturday. It was after the inside the park home run in extra innings, and I tweeted
Great
out.
job by Seth Mullins on that one.
Yeah. I heard that was the center field if we wanted.
And look, I was wrong.
Sorry.
I was wrong.
Sorry. Hey, listen. I didn't even know that you were a big Cedric Mullins guy. I had just been chastised for being anti.
I thought he was being underutilized in Baltimore, but that's me.
To that point,
that's a
though,
trend. Yeah.
Following that, I just tweeted out that I was thinking about the guys at the 7 line that were yelling at me after the Phillies got swept, and I can't imagine they're doing well. To which someone replied, a Mets fan replied to that tweet saying that they should have pushed me onto the third rail of the 7 line, which I thought was a little bit of an overreaction. But after that tweet, it really solidified for me them missing the playoffs would be the best case.
Oh, just
just to spite them. Yeah, no, this is a personal thing.
It would destroy that franchise.
Yeah, $340 million payroll to not make the postseason. I think for me at this point, it's become a
$700 million guy who, who basically missed would be like, you sign a $700 million player and then you miss. That's not good.
Yeah, I saw someone trying to cope. I forget who it was talking about like the developmental year for them coming off the NLCS.
Oh, stop.
Yeah, exactly. Now, a season ago, the Phillies win the East. They get themselves the bye. And we know what happens against the Mets. There is a sentiment amongst the fan base after watching the Phillies in the wild card series, back-to-back years, win the wild card series, and then go beat the Braves in the divisional round, and then having the Phillies lose in the divisional round, that people would rather them play the week leading up. I know this because I was sitting in my seats at Citizen Bank Park, the last home game of the season I went to, and immediately, person behind me having the conversation of, I guess, it's good not to be in the wild card series, but I really prefer they play this week. It is always better to have the bye. It is better to have the bye.
I was one who was anti-bye. For the most part. Yeah, look, the first 2 years of this format, the teams who had the bye struggled, especially in the National League. I don't know what it was, or, we had the Phillies and the Braves. It was divisional matchups. Maybe that was part of the cause. You had the Padres, you had the Diamondbacks, they going up against the Dodgers. I think for the Phillies this year, it is critical they get the bye because their starting rotation needed to have that time to get set up. It's not like when you have Wheeler and okay, I got Wheeler. Then even when I circle back to game one of the DS, if we assume that they go through the DS, you would go, okay, I got Nola, I got Suarez or something. They're a little more fragile with their starting rotation and entering this playoff. So, yeah, I want to line it up where Sanchez gets game one here next Saturday afternoon.
My biggest thing with the conversation of people who are anti the bye, going back to your point about the first couple years of this format, go back and look at what the Dodgers had left in starting pitching when they got to that point, and the years that they lose it. And go back to the Braves. I've made this point to you, I think, 1,000 times we had this conversation. To me, the difference in those Braves series, who starts game 3.
Right.
Like the Braves, when they line up their pitching, didn't have enough pitching.
A very
to
young
get them.
Strider.
Yeah. And coming off injury Strider, like not the Strider at all that was what he's become. So for me, it's about that pitching, which is why the bye is so important. And the teams that have faltered, I don't think faltered because of the bye. I think they faltered because of the fact they didn't have enough pitching when they got the bye. I think they faltered because of
matchups, too. I think it's the matchup. When you play a team in your division, and by the way, you can look at it from this perspective from last year. The one team that didn't advance with the bye was the Phillies. They played a team in the Mets who had no fear of them.
Right. Well, and justifiably so. They had gotten them by the end of that season. It was the same with the Phillies against the Braves. It was the same for Arizona and San Diego against the Dodgers. That's why. I mean, if you want to look at it, in a bigger form. So we just did this conversation about the NLDS preference, and we had talked about the Mets because of the lack of pitching. This conversation would suggest the opposite, though. Right? That you wouldn't want to see them because they're in your division?
No, because I honestly don't see a way they beat the Dodgers.
Fair.
I think that's maybe the way I'm looking at it.
You've already assumed this is Dodgers-Phillies, which I think is a pretty fair assumption.
Yeah, I think so. And honestly, I think for the Phillies, it's better you get them in the 5 than the 7.
To me, it's overdue that we get the Phillies-Dodgers series. The fact that these two teams have
Since
not met.
09, yeah.
Yeah, the fact that they have not met during this run is absurd. I'm very happy about it because it should have provided more than just one pennant, but it provided at least one pennant. Second one, I'm not going to get over until this group actually wins something, and even then, I'll probably end up going to my grave upset about that one.
And I get, it's funny. I'm looking at ESPN Kylie McDaniel did a tiers of the playoff rotations, and he has the Dodgers as the number 1 team because of
Yamamoto, Snell.
Glasnow, Snell, Ohtani, Kershaw, Sheehan. Well, 1, in a 5-game series, you're not going to see all of them.
Right.
2, I doubt you'll see Kershaw. I would almost doubt you're going to see Ohtani unless he goes to the bullpen. Like, And 3, the Dodgers are only going to throw their guys 5 innings. That is the trend with Roberts. He's going to lean into his bullpen when he
Which is a mistake with that bullpen.
Oh, absolutely.
I understand going through a lineup the third time. With that rotation,
they are heavy on the no third time rule, and I hate that.
The rotation drop off to the bullpen is wrong. But to go back to the original point of this conversation about the bye, Bryce Harper said it on Sunday at his locker, talking about the bye and getting into the way that people have used it as an excuse before. Here's Harper.
It's worked for some teams, obviously, and there's other teams that have complained about it and things like that, but I don't think we're going to be one of those teams. We weren't last year. I'm looking forward to having it. You know, I would love a couple days off, obviously, so looking forward to it, and we just got to play our game. I mean, I don't think it matters if you have a bye or not a bye, or a wild card game or not a wild card game. I can't stand the stance of teams taking, if we would have played. I think it's all nonsense. So we just got to play our game, understand postseason baseball is a lot different than anything else. So we just got to be in the right mind frame of going into game 1 in the DS and ready to roll.
And the one part of this we haven't even discussed is it's another week for Turner to get ready.
Turner, and I don't know, I'm sure you read Gil this week talking about the roster and Alec Boehm specifically, the successful weekend that he had.
Yep.
Tributes it to getting a chance to shut it down because he had said that basically coming back off the injured list the last time
was a refresh.
He has a good weekend, fine. If he feels like he's going to be better because of the rest he has in the midweek, good. Let him have that. Let Turner have that. And we're not arguing against playing for a bye because they're going to have that bye. They're going to be the 2 seed.
If they don't, there's a big problem.
Right. If they don't, we had a week that we're going to have a lot of conversation about leading into the postseason. But to have that bye, to me, is not just is a good thing, but something that we can't, at the end of this, if it doesn't go the way, we can't use it as an excuse. Harper right there sets the standard for that entire group or the way this should be talked about. And I think sets the standard for this fan base that you cannot, if this doesn't go the way you want it to, use the bye as the excuse for why they didn't do what they needed to do.
No, I would agree. I mean, look, if they lose this year, it's not because they had a bye and they got too rusty and all that. No, that's not the reason. It would be they're not good enough.
I want to get ahead of that. Harper's telling you he believes it's a good thing for his team. Harper says he's not using it as an excuse.
Realistically, I don't think it's going to matter. I don't. I think they're going to win the DS. I think they'll beat either team they'll face in the DS.
I hope so. That's the hope.
I'll be honest. I would be more concerned if I'm Milwaukee than the Phillies.
The way the Phillies are playing?
I'd be more concerned if I'm Milwaukee. Milwaukee's been like 500 for
That's
like
what I mean with the way the
half.
Phillies are playing.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not sure Milwaukee gets there. How's that?
Oh, all right. Spicy. We'll get some more baseball conversation later on in the show. Coming up, Morning Show asked today about the standard going forward for this offense. Undoubtedly, it comes in that second half, right? We'll play you the quote that we played a million times from A.J. Brown again coming up about getting the ball to your best players. Why is it so difficult? Alongside Kevin Patulo, I'm Ray Dunn. This is Middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
So you put out a tweet after the game that I thought perfectly sort of sums up this game. And I would like you to read it. It's about the boos and the cheers.
Yeah.
Because yesterday was a game where it was a tale of two halves.
Because I was waiting for this to come out from people because you always get those people that'll live it. And there was only one jabroni on Twitter last night that was trying to do it. Yeah, you had a bad day on Twitter yesterday.
Yeah.
No, bullcrap. Every boo was deserved. Every cheer was earned. That's bottom line. Every boo was deserved. Every cheer was earned. Everybody who booed the Eagles off the field at halftime yesterday. I don't want to hear about anybody saying, oh, front-running fans or anything like that.
No.
That was a boo-worthy performance. And by the way, the Eagles told you that it was.
Yeah, it was.
A.J. Brown, Jordan Mailata, they'll tell you that it was. And every cheer was earned. Because you know what? When you get booed in this town, you earn it. And when you get cheered, you earn it. And boy, yesterday, that was incredible. And to me, I've never seen this city have this team. And when I try to put it into words, I've told you before, and I'll say it again. to be able to root for a team that is the bully on the block, that is the great team, that is the 800-pound gorilla that's swatting the planes out of the sky on top of the Empire State Building. We've got that team. They showed us again yesterday. Believe them. Believe in them.
Yeah.
They can beat you in any one of a number of ways. And yes, this is saying it from somebody who, when they were down 26-7, was saying that in my head, I thought that game was over.
Absolutely.
Philly fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bo, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Welcome back. Midday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Ray Dunn, alongside Kevin Cooney. Sean Robin producing the show. We're going to get back to the Eagles in just a second. But I know, people don't necessarily gravitate to the world of college football around here. But did you see one of the most interesting storylines of all time come out of the SEC this week? Really, yesterday.
I can't wait to hear where this is going. Go ahead.
Apparently, Lane Kiffin's daughter has hard-launched a relationship with LSU's star linebacker, Whit Weeks. So Lane Kiffin's daughter, Landry, apparently posted on Instagram, a very big deal, the hard launch.
So it's a like Instagram official?
Instagram official. That's what, apparently, she has posted with Whit Weeks, who is LSU's linebacker, like star linebacker. She posted with him saying she's happy, relationship apparently going on between the two of them. Now, of course, this happens in the lead up to Ole Miss and LSU, which comes your way this weekend. Number 4 LSU, number 13 Ole Miss, 3:30 this Saturday. They go Instagram official this week.
Boy, I'll tell you what, that is if Lane somehow is like trying to use that as like, trying to get inside knowledge, like Tom Brady level, that would be something.
I mean, this is absurd. One way or the other, like, this is absolutely insane for this to happen this week, for it to be announced. Now, Kiffin has responded to this.
Okay.
Kiffin responded to someone who said to take the over with exactly that. Take the over. Tweeted at them that.
Hammer it. Hammer it. Take the over.
Basically insinuating he's either got information on the defense or the defense is distracted.
How does a college coach get away with that?
He's Lane Kiffin, man.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, like, what are you going to do to Lane Kiffin? The guy's like a cat. He's got 9 lives. Like,
how did they meet? Oxford and Baton Rouge are not exactly.
Well,
honestly, now I think of it, there's no winners here because it's Brian Kelly and Lane Kiffin, and
So with weeks, because I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not really breaking down the LSU tape every week, so I am not. Yeah, okay.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
He's pretty good.
Right.
He's gonna get drafted.
He had a great game last year against Ole Miss, 18 tackles and a sack. I'm trying to look through his recruiting here, like if there would have been crossover in terms of like, Lane's recruiting the guys around, hey.
Did they meet in Gulfport or something?
I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, maybe it's one of those trips that like all the different, but like that feels.
Well, Gulfport, Mississippi is a big hangout in the South on the beaches. And I assume from Baton Rouge, maybe you go over there, for a summer vacay or something. And maybe that.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that, and I could say
what's their version in Gulfport of the OD?
Well, yeah, that's maybe that's what it is. I was going to say, for me, knowing that when, we do the 2-lane trip every year, when it falls on a weekend and you're walking the streets, it is like every SEC school, fraternity, sorority having their trip out and about amongst the town. Like to the point where I was out and this guy came after me, he's like, "What's your team?" And I was like, what? Football. The Eagles. The Eagles? What are you, an Auburn guy? I was like, what? So what are you doing? I realized I don't speak SEC, which is what it was. And he was like,
you don't speak Joe Tess.
He was like totally taken aback by the fact that I don't have a school down there. He's like, where'd you go to school? I'm like, Temple.
Oh.
Like he didn't have an answer.
Are you from the American Athletic Conference?
The American.
The American.
The American. I didn't have an answer to him. But like maybe that's how they met. But this is such an odd, to hard launch the relationship this week, for me, opens up a Pandora's box of questions of just like, she posted it, Lane saying take the over. Like, is she gathering information? How is she gathering information?
All right, I'll ask.
Is he gathering information?
I'll ask what YouTubers are probably asking right now. Has Ray Dunn ever dated somebody from an opposing the American school?
No. Professionalism
just to get the inside information.
Professionalism here. Yes. No. I am not one to go seek out information in that way. All of my production calls are all above the book and are all very clearly professional. Can't stress that one enough.
Are you talking to Chip Kelly after you're done? Yeah. By the way, the fact that Fox, can I go back to the Brady thing one moment from last week? Yeah. I know I'm late. The fact that Fox had him do Bears-Cowboys last Sunday, knowing that the Bears are the Raiders' next opponent, after seeing what happened on that Monday night game, is ridiculous.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, it's absolute. This whole charade to keep Brady involved with the game has been ridiculous. It's been obnoxious.
This is the last year, don't you think? I mean, it's too late now to switch it.
I guess. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to go from here. Like, if you're Brady, do you walk away from this situation? No, you're making money.
Yeah, but if you're Fox, you can also maybe use Brady on pregame show or something, and it's less complicated.
So is this it for Terry, maybe? That's a very expensive guy to have on that panel.
I think it would be it for Terry.
Every year I say that.
I think for Terry, Terry's been done for like 5 years, and he just hasn't known it yet. He just stumbles into the studio.
It's been like 15 years where every year I'm like, man, I'm really going to miss Terry. And then like the next year pops up, he's there again. It's like I've been expecting that to be like.
Well, they had Drew Brees on this week, and now Drew Brees is going to be on First Take every week.
And I'll take Terry at this point over Brees on television.
Drew Brees.
Yeah, I'll pass on that. Something I never pass on. Vic Fangio's presser. That's coming up at 11:30.
Yes.
I cannot wait for that one. We will get back to the conversation about the offense. I know I wandered down that path, but it's a fascinating story.
By the way, do you think Rodman ever dated somebody from an American school when he was at Temple?
No. I actually, Rodman.
It's tough because the distance between Temple and another American school is like 7,000 miles.
He was definitely used for non-conference games. He went to school while I still had Penn State on the schedule every year. Yeah. Maryland was on the schedule at that
never
point.
been to Maryland.
You're not missing
Never
much
been
at
to
College
Maryland.
Park.
Spring break capital of the Northeast.
College Park?
Yeah.
Really?
What?
According to John Rothstein.
Oh, of
Alongside
course.
Kevin Cooney, I'm Ray Dunn. Fangio's presser coming up next. We'll get back to that
Is it March
conversation
yet?
on the offense. You're here on Middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Is the Eagles' offense turning a corner? I'm Sean Rodman, and this update is brought to you by Audible. Stuck in traffic? Audible's romance collection will have you falling fast in the slow lane. Satisfy every side of you with rom-coms, romnesties, and the really steamy stuff. Listen free with a 30-day trial at audible.com. And the Eagles, they are turning a corner, looks like, potentially after Nick Sirianni told the media that nothing changed in the play calling aspect in that second half on Sunday.
Kevin called the plays yesterday in that second half. But make no mistake about it, like Jalen does a great job of communicating. Jalen sees the field really, really, really well. He can come back and tell you what happened without even looking at the picture.
We'll see if the offense can continue its play calling heading into Tampa this week. The Eagles have claimed wide receiver and kick returner Xavier Gibson off waivers to help on kickoffs after poor performance against the Rams. Coordinators will speak next. And it looks like Vic Fangio could be up the first one. We'll carry that live for you. Phillies' magic number for a bye is down to 2. They're back in action tonight against the Marlins. Christopher Sanchez scheduled to get the start for the Phillies, and Edward Cabrera for the Marlins. First pitch is at 6:45. This update is brought to you by Discover. Do you know what's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide? If you guessed Discover, you guessed right based on the February 2024 Nielsen report. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Jalen Hurts just had to take charge. And nothing makes me happier. Nothing that I'm taking away from yesterday makes me happier than seeing Jalen Hurts get fiery, get a little angry, and literally telling his offensive coordinator, this is how it's run.
Yeah.
Period. No spin job, no nothing. This is how it's run. You don't have to be a lip reader to be able to see what he said.
Yeah, it was pretty clear.
And Kevin Patulo was the student, and the quarterback was the teacher, and everything changed.
50 days before kickoff, John Kincade had a random worry of Kevin Patulo that came out of nowhere. It was in the middle of the Phillies season, and John was worried.
It was in my head.
And I tried making you feel better by saying, well, maybe Jalen Hurts will be a big part of this offense. And through the first 2 weeks and half of week 3, he really wasn't, except for a few check-ins at the line of scrimmage every once in a while. But to your point, that moment yesterday, Jalen took over. And for all the Jalen Hurts naysayers, for all the doubters, for all the, hey, he's only good because of the players around him, that was the Jalen Hurts second half yesterday. Obviously, credit to the defense holding the Rams to only 7 points. But what Jalen Hurts did in that second half yesterday is why you feel so comfortable.
If you can't beat the Eagles when they play a first half like that, is anybody going to beat this team? And that's not even hyperbole. I mean,
it's not going to be easy.
Listen to this, Ricky. Not only are they 3-0 on the season, they are 19-1 in their last 20 games. Do you know how crazy that is? Do you know how spoiled we are right now as a fan base? They have won 19 of their last 20 games. They're 17-0 when Jalen Hurts starts and finishes. Think about that for a second. 17 straight wins with Jalen Hurts starting and finishing the game. Here's another wild stat. Jalen Hurts just had his 19th straight game without throwing for 300 yards.
That's unbelievable.
They're 18-1.
Yeah, but you don't need
18-1.
You don't need it. I mean, this
you can't
offense,
beat this team.
Jalen Hurts just had to take charge. And nothing makes me happier. Nothing that I'm taking away from yesterday makes me happier than seeing Jalen Hurts get fiery, get a little angry, and literally telling his offensive coordinator, this is how it's run.
Yeah.
Period. No spin job, no nothing. This is how.
Fanatic working our way through the 11 o'clock hour alongside Kevin Cooney. I'm Ray Dunn. Want to tell you about the Fanatic deal of the week. Bates Motel. 2 adult combo tickets to the Bates Motel for the price of 1. That's half off Halloween thrills at the Bates Motel in Glen Mills. One of the most frightening haunted attractions in the country. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 97.5thefanatic.com/deals.
It's Halloween season.
It is. I was already getting, over the last 12 hours, I've had 2 different groups of people reach out about Halloween plans. I can't get that far yet. I mean, I am putting together my entire winter right now, but that's a different story.
I got yelled at by Jennifer Frederick the other day.
Why?
Jen Fred was upset because I asked Wawa when the turkey bowls would be coming back.
I don't think that's an unreasonable ask. We're like 2 weeks away from them putting Christmas decorations in your local grocery store, I'm sure.
It's still summer. It was Friday. It's still summer.
It's not still summer. It wasn't summer after Labor Day weekend. It's over. The kids are back at school.
But then she said yesterday that it's perfectly acceptable because it's now fall.
No, it was already fall.
Once football season starts,
with all due respect to Jen.
Didn't the pumpkin spice start rolling out in August?
Yeah.
Why?
It did. Because let's all be honest with ourselves. Nobody follows the seasons based on the calendar.
No.
September 21st is not the end of summer. September 22nd is not the end of summer. September 21st is just the subject of a song. That's really what this comes down to. That's not the end of summer. The end of summer is Labor Day weekend. And honestly, nowadays for me,
weekend before.
Not even really. Basically like the start of the preseason. For the rest of you, you enjoy the rest of your summer. For me, that's when I say, all right, every weekend from here until St. Patrick's Day, I've got plans. Football season and college basketball season.
Well, you're selling your team short St. Patrick's Day.
Well, traditionally that's like the
first round of the tournament, first weekend of the tournament.
That's conference tournament weekend. So we are always that week. So that's usually when I tell my friends, like when basketball season starts, it's always a St. Patrick's Day weekend because the women's tournament will be during the week, and I'll get home that weekend, and I'll have at least that weekend before Selection Sunday.
I used to hate St. Patrick's Day.
Why? What do you have against St. Patrick's Day?
When I hated it when I was a baseball writer, because in Clearwater, St. Patrick's Day weekend was the absolute mayhem weekend, and trying to get into a restaurant or a bar or something was completely out.
I am all in on St. Patrick's Day weekend, and I would be all in for the exact reason why you would hate it down there as a writer, because I want to go do that trip badly.
On St. Patrick's weekend?
Yeah.
There's so many better weekends. There's so many better weekends you can enjoy Florida in than that weekend.
All right, we can put a pin in this one because Vic Fangio is up with it. Here is the defensive coordinator.
Ask Vic this. He'll answer.
I wonder what he thinks about the Phillies this week. Here he is, his presser down there at NovaCare.
We should put the lineup tonight.
Vic, what do you think's clicking with the red zone defense from your perspective?
Every trip down there is an adventure in and of itself. We practice a lot, so the game changes when you're in the red zone. It's not a good thing to be in the red zone on defense, but it is a defensive advantage with that inline being right there. So the game changes. The way the game is played, particularly in the passing game. So we try and get our players used to doing that.
How big do you think it was you got those stops in the red zone Sunday, forced them to kick field goals?
Yeah, it was huge. Just add a couple, 4 more points to when it was 26-7, and probably a different outcome.
What were the issues on the run defense in the first half?
Yeah, it was as usual, conglomeration of things. One, could have been in better calls. Two, we could have played what we were in better. They do a good job blocking. Got to give them credit. Their backs ran good. So it was a little bit of everything. How much more? He's doing pretty good right now. Hopefully he'll sustain that and get better. Guys get better the more they play, and he's still a young player.
How do you feel Quignon did shadowing Devontae and handling that responsibility?
I think he did fine. Obviously, he's a hard guy to cover. You know, they had two really good receivers. So, I think he did fine. You know, when you're matching guys, it's not as easy as you think it is. You know, there's the gymnastics of getting lined up, playing the call. You know, where did you end up on the previous play? How far away from the action were you? And you got to get back, get the call. You know, it's everybody thinks it's easy, but it's not. And I think he's done a good job with it.
Aside from just him, how is the defense handling that? Because it's not just him that has to move around.
Yeah, it's the other corner. Yeah, the other corner has the same exact problem. And they've been doing fine with it.
Defensive tackle seems to be one of those positions where it takes time to potential is fully realized for an NFL player. Do you have a thought on that position specifically, why it takes, you know, it could take a few years?
Yeah, I don't know that it's you can make a blanket general statement like that. To me, it's more the individual than the position. But it's different. I think one of the biggest differences between college and pro football is this is a man's game. The run game is more downhill than it is in college football. Generally speaking, some of the offensive linemen are veterans. Most teams have a lot of veteran O-linemen. They know how to play. They're older. And it's vastly different from college football.
Going back to Q a little bit, traveling, is that sort of an X and Z thing? If do the receivers have to stay outside, or are you comfortable if they move inside as well in the slot? So if the receiver,
yeah,
or
outside,
just outside,
yeah.
Some of these depth corners, whether it's
What's that?
or some of the depth corners, whether it's Keely Ringo, Mac McWilliams, are they able to make strides when they're on scout team? Or
Yes, they are.
And have you seen anything from them in the past few weeks that would demonstrate improvement from training camp?
Yeah, I've told Keely here recently, you know, not in the last few days, but since the end of camp, I mean, he's going to get his opportunity at some point, and he got to be ready.
How did you feel before he played that when he came in? He obviously went after him quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't know how many snaps did he have. I know you know.
12. It was 11 or 12.
11 or 12.
12.
Yeah, he got some action, obviously. Thought he had some good plays. You know, one time we were rolled up to him, and I think it was the first play of the 2-minute drive, and had a nice play, broke up the pass down the sideline. So I think he did fine.
Getting back to what you just said about Keely, how was he handled? Obviously, he was disappointed at the end of camp. He didn't win that job. How was he handled, and what gives you the confidence that, you know, at some point he'll be out there?
I think he's handled it very well. Hadn't affected his role as a special teamer, which he's one of the top ones in the league. And I think he knows that eventually he'll get a shot, for some reason whatsoever, and he'll be ready.
Have you historically had safety rotations, and if not, why do you feel it necessary to do it this year?
No, historically, no. We started that way in the first game just because Makuba, you know, was coming off injury. You know, Sydney was having a good camp, so we just wanted to split it that way. And we've kind of kept it that way, but doesn't mean that's the way it will be all the time.
In an ideal world, would you rather have just two static players back?
I mean, that's usually the way it works out. I don't know that ideal is the right way to frame that, but that's usually the way it works out.
For Jalen Carter playing 91% of the defensive snaps, 9 special team snaps, are you seeing strides how you want as far as the conditioning?
Yeah, obviously, the more he plays, the better conditioning he'll get into. So, yes.
What are the Bucks' offense? What do they do well, and why did you struggle against them last year?
Well, they're very balanced. They run it good. They throw it good. They got really good receivers. The quarterback is playing really good. He's a scrambler. He scrambled, I think, 11 times this year for close to 120 yards already. So that's always an issue. I've always liked Mayfield. I think he's a good quarterback. Why these teams that had him didn't keep him, I don't know. But GMs make mistakes, just like coaches do. I've always liked Mayfield. And their backs run hard and good, so they got balance.
And the second part of that was, why did you struggle against them last year?
We just didn't play good, and they did, and they took it to us.
They made you tackle, and I think tackling was an issue from what I recall.
In that game?
Yeah, early on. How do you feel like it's been so far this season, tackle?
It hadn't been terrible. I thought we were very good in the second game. Can't remember the first game now. I move on.
Yeah, I get it.
You heard your opinion on the heat in the summertime during training camp. Obviously, it's going to be hot down in Tampa. You guys are leaving early to adjust for it. How might the heat impact your rotations, and how do you go about planning for that earlier in the week?
Well, it's too late to do anything right now for it, as far as prepping for it. You don't practice in the heat one day and say you're acclimated, or take a pill and say you're acclimated. The key will be, it's a mindset, number one. Number two, we need to not let them have 8, 10, 12 play drives on us.
Do you think going early is going to benefit you guys in any way?
I don't know.
What factor into going lighter on edge rushers with the anatomies especially?
We had 4, right?
You had Patrick Johnson was down. He had been up the previous 2 games, and then the 2 veteran guys were down as well.
Yeah, to me, that's one that's always going to be fluid, either having 4 or 5. If we go down to 3, then you got a valid question.
Fair enough.
Although we played an entire season once when I was in San Francisco with just 3 active.
What do you think of the pass rush as a whole? Because Stafford's going to get the ball out on time, so often it doesn't show up on the stat sheet. But what do you think of that?
Yeah, I didn't think the lack of pass rush was an issue in the game. Like you said, he gets it out fairly quick. We had some good heat at times. We could have run a stunt or 2 better than we did. But yeah, we didn't have any. Well, we had 1, but I don't think that's reflective of the pass rush overall. All right. Thanks.
All right, Vic Fangio there, the defensive coordinator, meeting with the media. We will have Kevin Patulo coming up in a little bit. I will say, I don't know what happened to my brain today. Well, one, I did it again. Sean Bryman can attest. Every Tuesday, I put together a show sheet. I send over the show sheet. And inevitably, 15 minutes later, I'm like, crap, forgot the coordinators. We'll put that into the show sheet.
Oh, you did mention Fangio.
What?
Fangio's on the show sheet.
Well, yeah, this is a revised. The one that originally hit your inbox this morning did not have Fangio in the show sheet.
Yeah, I almost texted you last week to remind you. And then this week, I was like, he'll remember this time.
Yeah, no, I was like, damn, I did it again. So,
oops, I did it again.
But today, when I was putting into the show sheet the pressers, I did write Kellen Moore initially. So that shows you where my mind was at this morning. But Vic Fangio just spoke. Kevin Patulo will speak. And for Fangio, a couple of things here taken away. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. All right, we got time. Jeez, trying to run me off the stage again. We got time.
Fine.
Vic Fangio, a couple of takeaways from that presser. A lot on the cornerback situation. He talked about, one, Quinyon Mitchell shadowing Devontae Adams. Asked about that. Thought he did fine, which Fangio speak. All right, solid. I thought the next-gen stats were very kind to Quinyon Mitchell in the way that he performed against Devontae Adams. He clarified that he's only going to shadow a receiver on the outside. They're not going to move Quinyon Mitchell inside if he's going to shadow a receiver. Talked about how difficult it is for the opposite
Well, the
corner.
idea that DeJean then would then take
that role, which helps out when you have DeJean as compared to any other really slot corner that you could potentially have. For Keely Ringo, he's going to get his opportunity.
Please no.
And then he followed up with, I think he knows eventually he'll get a shot. And he'll get a shot was then followed by for whatever reason. But the fact that he said that originally and then worked himself into for whatever reason, he's going to get an opportunity. Talking about Jacorian Bennett, I thought he had some good plays. I think he did fine. Very telling to me that the questions have moved from what do you assess of Adoree Jackson's play to questions about Keely Ringo and questions about Jacorian Bennett. We've all, I guess,
Well,
accepted.
I think Adoree Jackson is what he is.
Yeah, that the inevitable is going to end up happening in that secondary where a change will happen. Talked about seeing strides in Jalen Carter, game shape because he played 90% of the snaps. Was very kind to Baker Mayfield. Took a couple shots at general managers, coaches for making a mistake, for moving on from him. It hasn't been terrible, he said when talking about the tackling, which...
That's damning with faint praise.
Yeah. And then my favorite thing of the week, and this is where we can wrap up the Fangio takeaways. It's a mindset when talking about the Heat. That man is for sure going to be in full sweats in 100-degree weather down there in Tampa Bay.
Of course, he'll be in the air-conditioned press box.
Well,
too.
I mean, when they're out there before the game, I imagine full sweats. He is going to absolutely drive home the point that being hot is a mentality and that you just need to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong.
Well, you have to deal with it. There's no other way to
Yeah.
You're going to have to play the game. Like if they play the game, you got to play the game.
Yes, it's kind of a mandate.
But I think, no doubt in my mind, we will get a picture of Vic Fangio in full sweats
Well, you get a
on the
sweatshirt.
sideline. Yeah, sweatshirt, sweatpants, full sweats for that game.
I don't know about that. It's supposed to be 90, by the way, on Oh, no, that's today. I'm sorry.
103, right? It's going to real feel of 103?
Real feel of 103.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. All right, coming up, we will get you Kevin Patulo's presser. We're obviously going to talk about the offense, but I also want to talk about what we didn't talk about. What do you think people haven't talked enough about from what we got on Sunday? This is the almost analyzing the radio on the radio. What have we not talked enough about that we got from Sunday for the Birds? We'll get Kevin and I's opinion on that coming up next. You're tuned into the Midday Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
But I will say this. Like, if you can't beat the Eagles when they play a first half like that, is anybody going to beat this team? Like, and that's not even hyperbole. I mean,
it's not going to be easy.
Listen to this, Ricky. Not only are they 3-0 on the season, they are 19-1 in their last 20 games. Do you know how crazy that is? Do you know how spoiled we are right now as a fan base? They have won 19 of their last 20 games. They're 17-0 when Jalen Hurts starts and finishes. Think about that for a second. 17 straight wins with Jalen Hurts starting and finishing the game. Here's another wild stat. Jalen Hurts just had his 19th straight game without throwing for 300 yards.
That's unbelievable.
They're 18-1.
Yeah, but you don't need
18-1.
You don't need it. I mean, this
you can't beat this team.
I mean, for the most part, let's face it, this offense is very efficient. For the most part, in his time period here. I'm not saying the first two games of the season were real efficient, but you look at that second half in yesterday's game. That was efficiency. That was, you know what it was? It was almost like everybody got on the same tempo. You know what I mean? You look at the first half, they were getting it handed to them. And I'm not talking just score-wise, but like physically, the Eagles were getting it handed to them. And that, I think that surprised me the most. Out of all that happened in the game yesterday, I think the Eagles being out-physicaled in the first half and beaten badly in the trenches early on, I think that stood out to me. And then they said, no, we're not going to take it anymore. And they turn this thing around. They end up coming back. They end up winning on the scoreboard. And if you're taking it like last week, you have to take this win as a win. No matter what happened in the first half, you just got to take it. It's a win.
After that strip sack, the Rams score. It's 26-7. On the next drive, 5 plays, 89 yards for a touchdown, and you saw him go deep to A.J. Then he goes deep over the middle to Dallas Goedert. They follow that up with a 13-play, 72-yard touchdown drive. But for me, I mean, the best part of the whole day, that final drive in the fourth quarter, 17 plays, 91 yards. Do you know they picked up 4 third-down conversions on that drive?
Yep.
And a fourth-down touchdown pass to Devontae Smith.
Oh, my
Ice
goodness.
in the veins, man. Jalen Hurts, this is why he's so damn good.
This does not happen to a regular team. Let me put it this way. Almost every other team in the league not necessarily quits, but kind of goes on cruise control. Instead, they were like, you know what? We got to find our offense now. Let's kick it in gear. Let's see what happens. And I almost think it was opposite. Usually when you're in the lead, you don't go into cruise control until like halfway through the fourth quarter with that big of a lead. Instead, it was kind of like they played the Rams played a little complacent, and you know what the Eagles did? They smacked them right in the mouth.
But I will say this. Like, if you can't beat the Eagles when they play a first half like that, is anybody going to beat this team? Like, and that's not even hyperbole. I mean,
it's not going to be easy.
Listen to this, Ricky. Not only are they 3-0 on the season, they are 19-1 in their last 20 games. Do you know how crazy that is? Do you know how spoiled we are right now as a fan base? They have won 19 of their last 20 games. They're 17-0 when Jalen Hurts starts and finishes. Think about that for a second. 17 straight wins with Jalen Hurts starting and finishing the game. Here's another one.
Welcome back in. Middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic alongside Kevin Cooney. I'm Ray Dunn. Just heard from Vic Fangio. You will be hearing from Kevin Patulo coming up.
We're skipping the Michael Clay one.
We were close to playing the Michael Clay one. All right, we were close. They dropped one more kickoff, and I was ready to go.
It would have been a full Michael Clay special.
Honestly, I'm actually kind of concerned with the way that this show, like Inside Radio, the way it's built out right now. This Clay presser might be the longest one he's ever had because they're going to have to talk about the kickoff, and they're going to talk about the block kick.
Block field goals.
Yeah. So they might have a lengthy Michael Clay presser. Has anyone ever been more excited to see Michael Clay than the press this week?
No.
Like, I mean, this is...
Not even the Clay family.
As I was saying it, I was like, I don't mean to be disrespectful towards your family. I'm sure your family's excited to see you. But it's our perspective.
It's Michael Clay.
Yeah.
It's Michael. He's home. Let's start Thanksgiving dinner.
He's going to be able to do that. I guess no travel this year. Thanksgiving breakfast. And then the team planning to go to...
they play the Bears.
Home game against the Bears.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting.
We'll be in the team hotel.
I'm sending them out to Chicago. I'm not going to be home for Thanksgiving. That's the difference. I'm projecting.
It's all about you, Ray.
That's what it is. That's absolutely what it is. At least I can explain to you why I'm thinking that they're going to be on the road. It's because I'm thinking about myself in this scenario. I'm being quite selfish in this scenario. I'll stop explaining myself around here. I'll just say things and then I'll just pretend it never happened. All right? Let's go to the text line here. 610-632-0975. Let's see what we got. Early open up the show with Jalen Hurts is, and wanted to get your takeaways on how you best encapsulate the experience of watching Jalen Hurts quarterback your football team.
Jalen Hurts is the Chuck Norris of quarterbacks from Colby in Central PA.
Wow. Chuck Norris of quarterbacks.
Taking that to a whole new level.
What else we got?
I compare him to Joe Montana and Chuck Norris. It's like 1987 came back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I got another one for you. Jalen Hurts is Phil Simms that can run. He's not going to make a mistake and lose the game.
Oh. I'm just doing my Phil Simms impression.
I was thinking about how Chris Simms would feel about that. Jalen Hurts is kind of
Chris Simms' daddy?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's kind of made Chris Simms his son.
You want to know what painful is, by the way? You know what I was watching Saturday afternoon, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Notre Dame Purdue.
Notre Dame, yep.
Had a 2-hour lightning delay.
Oh, they went to Chris Simms in the studio?
2 hours of Chris Simms.
Well,
I put on Oklahoma Auburn just out of like.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that was the right move in general, though.
Yeah.
With all due respect to those that do the studio, delay content stuff. Like I would love a job
Nicole
like that.
Auerbach, terrific. I know Nicole from when I cover college basketball a little bit. Nicole's awesome. Ahmad Fareed is great. I saw Chris Simms. I'm like, yeah, let me check and see what Joe Tessa or Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy are saying over.
I gotta say, I really do like. I don't like the Phil Simms comp in the way like it paints Jalen Hurts, but I do love the Phil Simms comp in the idea that it makes him Chris Simms' daddy.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's the best thing we could have gotten out of that text.
Another one we have, Jalen Hurts is a quarterback, period. This is what a QB is supposed to look, taking command and just doing the things necessary for team success over any one player's individual success. Go Birds.
Is a quarterback, period. Like the way you're supposed to do it. I mean, in general, the way of someone who leads a team is to get to the end goal. And I sound like him in a press conference here, but that's like basically the entire end job of this thing.
He's been better at his press conferences.
He has. No, I mean, he's still selling T-shirts, at least twice a.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually disappointed in Jordan that they haven't taken a greater advantage of his quotability yet. Sell me a $70 T-shirt with some of these things on this.
See, the other part is we haven't had a lot of quarterbacks in town who have been extremely quotable. No, seriously, like who?
Are you kidding me? Colarulo doesn't have a single McNabb thing.
I would say no.
Yeah, I was going to say, he doesn't have a single McNabb thing on his
You can change
board.
to your own.
My board's been changed over so many times at this point. I need to
Bill's
build
too busy
a new one.
patting himself on the back because he called a blocked field goal after he said they would get blown out by the Rams this week.
Oh, whoa. Gloves off, and it's not me doing it. Woo! All right, love it.
I got a call to Homer when I walked in here on a Friday night.
Really? For thinking that they were going to win? Because you were confident like me. Now, granted, the way it all played out.
Oh, it was totally different.
Yeah, but I'm 3-0 picking games this year. So, yeah, that's right. I'm not going to pat myself on the back for that one so far.
He does have a drop for that.
That doesn't include the cover, does it?
What?
What?
That doesn't include the cover, though, for you. Does it?
No, we didn't pick against the spread for the Eagles. We just said the Eagles were going to win. And I had them winning by 7.
Well,
so
I know,
I would
but you
have
still
them
do your
covering.
score predictions in general.
Yeah, I did 24-7. I had them winning by what? 7 points? How much did they win by?
7.
They won
By
by
7 points. Oh. So
I just meant the cover in general. I'm asking.
Well, I'm confused what you're asking.
You were right all along.
I don't need to pat myself on the back, but if you're going to force me to pat myself
I was asking if your record includes Eagles covering the spread, if it was a 3 or 7 point win that you had.
I had it 24-17, so it did not play out. I didn't think either of these teams was getting to 30 points. As there was a thought in my mind as Jordan Davis after he scored. Once I thought about the cover, and then I thought about the fact that I said I didn't think either of these teams were going to get 30 points. And I was like, Jordan Davis just.
You know how it
kinda
is
ruined that for me.
when you're getting ready for the postgame show?
Yeah.
You sit here and you watch. And
Yeah.
The minute Davis picked it up, I'm like, oh my God, you're going to cover.
See, that was my second thought. My first thought was, Slim JD, yes, we got Jordan Davis content. And then after that, it was, they covered.
Yeah.
I was thrilled for the guy. Thrilled for the guy for the weekend. And we talked, I think, a decent amount about him yesterday. But what haven't we talked about, you think, enough from that game on Sunday?
Zach Baun.
Good answer by you.
Zach Baun was tremendous in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely all over the field. Only defender I really felt comfortable with, even though that they were gashing him with the run. Yeah, say what you want about Davis and Carter at the end. Davis and Carter early on struggled against the run.
Yeah, I mean, the whole defense pretty much did. Ball and the interception. I mean, you have nothing in that first half if you don't get the ball and interception.
No.
So, yeah, that's a good answer from you on Ball.
Thank you. I try.
Fred Johnson has gotten his shine, I think. He's the I called him the other day
the anti-Matt Pryor?
Well, yeah. I mean, that helps. That's being the exact opposite of that is a good thing for him. I called him the Nick Foles of right tackles, and then I realized that you pretty much had the Nick Foles of tackles on the Nick Foles team.
Yes.
In Vitae. So I realized, but that was on the left side. So it doesn't exactly work the same way, but I like that comparison in the moment. Fred Johnson's gotten his shine. Jordan Davis has gotten his shine. We talked a lot about the passing offense. To be honest with you, the biggest thing that I feel like we only touched on a little bit was special teams in the fact of the kickoff returns. And that's something that offensively, when you talk about, one, getting yourself in positive field position to start a drive, to work yourself into field goal range eventually, and from where, if they are going to have these slow starts offensively,
right,
like the field position you give up when you have to punt it away because of where you're starting in these kickoffs, that's the biggest thing yesterday. I got about a 5-minute rant on it in yesterday. 5 minutes even feels generous for the amount of time we spent on that. It still doesn't sit right with me today. And I know they go out Gibson, and they're going to try and correct what they have kickoff-wise. But the fact that you traded for 2 guys that are back there, and you got the results you did, 1, underscores that this new kickoff thing I hate, and 2, Eagles got to figure it out despite my feelings on it. That's something I don't think we talked enough about, just because I think the down-the-line impact of that could be
it could be huge. It could be huge. I don't mind the kickoff thing.
Why?
I actually kind of enjoy seeing people try to run the ball and lane, and have it, basically where you can.
35 is just so far up the field to start.
They could push it back to the 30. But I do enjoy the fact that, basically you're rewarding teams for taking a shot to come out.
I don't love it.
Okay.
That's
you.
Yeah, I get it. Listen, I grew up, Devin Hester was the hot commodity here. You tell me. All right. WPEN, HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group Station, broadcasted live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibility. I feel a little like.
I'm just reminding you.
I appreciate it. I thought we had Patulo up. Is Clay still speaking, by the way?
No, he's done speaking now.
I was going to say that.
He only got done about 90 seconds ago, though.
Patulo's running through with Jalen what he should say, since Jalen's running things now.
We do have a text actually along those lines. No name on this one, but says Jalen needs to have the final say on what play is going to be executed at all times. The offensive coordinator has his staff are responsible for breaking down and informing him what they are seeing from the sidelines and the press box. They collectively discuss, but Jalen needs to decide who gets the ball and when.
It's not like he's a rookie quarterback, and it's not like he's. I'm okay with it. I'm totally okay if they give him more of the controls. I really am. He's not Cam Ward. He's not in his 4th game.
No, and I think we're naive to believe he doesn't have a lot of the controls. And that goes both sides here.
And by the way, that also means he should get the criticism if it doesn't work.
That's what I mean. I think that goes to the other side of things here,
It does.
where there is control. And I think going back to Arrowhead and the Chiefs game specifically, you saw the communication. There was one heated exchange between he and Steen that just sticks out in my mind of the communication there. The silent count they're going through, what they were trying to accomplish offensively. I think there were some things to iron out early on in this season that maybe we've gotten to the point where that second half is ironing them out. But I think that was out of necessity that they made that change. And I think that's why I give Patulo credit in what they did in that second half, because I think anyone that goes into halftime of that game saying, yeah, we could be ourselves and we'll come out of this competitive would be naive. I think they would have been naive to continue doing what they're doing. And I still think that second half has to be the jumping off point for what this offense could be. This conservative approach, I get it. I don't need you, guns a-blazing. I don't need the Brett Favre, let's heave it, let's go gunslinger mode here. I don't need you to all of a sudden change who you are entirely. But I think for this offense, for the talent it has, opening it up should not be something you're scared of doing. That both as a play caller and both as the quarterback. The timid play for me needs to stop to the level that it was at the first 10 quarters of the season. I need to see it push forward.
I hear you. That's fine. That works.
I'm done with them pushing it. We'll take 5 yards here, 5 yards there. Take the checkdowns when they're there, but start pushing the ball down the field a little bit more. While we're having this conversation, and this was something that came out of Monday Night Football last night. They did, I don't know if you've seen, obviously the NBA made the rule change about, this was Manningcast.
Yeah, I saw that.
That the NBA made the rule change over the 3-point heaves at the end of the half are going to count against the team instead against the player, so it incentivizes players to shoot because they're trying to protect their percentages. We could have a whole conversation about the mentality of a competitor in that moment.
Sure.
But instead of that, Peyton Manning did like a satirical take on like the 5 things he would change, and all of them just benefit the quarterback position. But one of them was to stop tracking targets as a stat.
That's wrong.
So it's wrong. I agree. Which it's wrong because if we're not tracking targets, we're going to say, well, he threw the ball a lot to this guy, he didn't throw the ball a lot to that guy. Like it's the same thing. But his general idea of this was that our use of the stat itself in terms of targets is done in a way to question whether or not they're getting the ball enough to one player. And nobody knows what's going through the quarterback's mind in that moment. To take it to the Jalen Hurts conversation of this whole thing, it feels like that was the first 2 weeks of our dialogue surrounding A.J. Brown, where are the opportunities not there for him or he's not throwing it to him. From Peyton Manning's perspective, I'm curious, and he's not sitting in front of me, so I can't ask him, what he believes as a quarterback was there for Jalen Hurts the first 2 weeks when we get to like the dishing out of conversation about this offense for the first 10 quarters. They're wrong to take away the target stat. But if we didn't look at the target stat, we didn't look at it in that way specifically, would we have come across a little bit kinder to this offense after 2 weeks?
No, because even if you don't have the stat there, boy, AJ's not getting the ball.
Right. But I'm saying, like, knowing where it's supposed to, like, if you feel like that you were in the headset of the coaches and not necessarily us watching from this perspective, do you think we would have come across more kindly to the offense?
No, I think it would have been the same.
You think?
I think, honestly, you may have been more outraged. Because I think there's data, at least, that you could see as opposed to anecdotal.
Right.
Yeah, and look, it may not be an official stat. The cat's out of the bag. Like, all these people who have all 22 access and all that, they would have eventually put it out there.
Well, but the all 22 people for week 1 against the Cowboys were like, where were the opportunities there?
Right.
For A.J. Brown.
Right.
So then week 2, all 22 people again were like, hey, there's not yet we continue to have the conversation about get the ball to A.J. Brown, get the ball to A.J. Brown. And like, you're not getting targets, you're not getting targets. You want the ball to go to your best players. I just think it was interesting from a quarterback's perspective that I'm sure he heard, hey, Marvin Harrison's not getting enough this week, or, Reggie Wayne's not getting the ball enough this week. Like, why is that the case? The quarterback perspective on that is you don't know when I'm making a good play. And how many times are we sitting here naive to the right play that doesn't feature, like the right game plan, too, that doesn't feature enough of one of your players, yet they execute it at a high level, if that makes sense.
No, it does. But I like I said, like, you can eliminate the stat. You can take it out of the box score. People are still going to figure it out.
Yeah. No, I that's what I mean.
And the outrage would be the same.
The outrage would be the same. I just think from our perspective to hear the quarterback talking about it and talking about, hey, this level, you don't know what I know type thing, was interesting. That would be one of the things he would take out of football, because it's not anything you could actually take out of football, but the frustration of a quarterback that, I don't know, I don't feel like ever really isn't getting criticized to the level of a guy that, he doesn't understand what's happening with this defense in front of him. The fact that he feels that way suggests that this is a down the line effect for all quarterbacks of like, hey, you don't know what I know on this one.
I agree.
But it was just an interesting perspective from him. Coming up, I guess we got Kevin Patulo. I don't know.
At some point.
Yeah, it's Patulo doing a little bit of the old.
He's going Sirianni.
I know. I'll say it.
Buddy.
I'll say it. This was the show at Kevin Patulo.
No longer?
I mean, being on time was really what drove us to him. We were excited about having him because he was on time. If he's not going to be on time,
can't have him.
You can't have him. So I think we're off the bus officially on this one.
Okay.
You've lost me.
Yep.
You've lost me.
You lost Ray. You lost America.
That's what a lot of people say.
It's like Kincade.
Coming up, I think we're going to have Kevin Patulo's presser.
Maybe.
If not.
I told you, Jaylen. Maybe Jaylen will go up instead.
Hey, why not? We'll get into that Hurts-Patulo dynamic coming up. We got some texts on it. We'll get to that. And also, Evan Cohen of that Unsportsmanlike show we referenced to the
Yes.
open here, talking about Hurts' personality, mentality, what it reminds him of. Comparisons, not the one you threw out there, but another one out there for Hurts that I've seen quite a few times. He's Kevin Cooney. I'm Ray Dunn. Take you through middays here at 97.5 The Fanatic.
Start.
I can say the same thing that Jalen Hurts earned his right to have that moment on the sideline because he's the damn Super Bowl MVP.
Yes.
And he won that Super Bowl. Obviously, the defense was tremendous, but by throwing the football last year. You saw the second half, a totally different Eagles team from the first two games, but the same Eagles team from the last two games of 2024 when they won the conference championship in the Super Bowl. Quote that, damn it.
I'm still in awe that they found a way to win this football game.
Jordan
It's
Davis
incredible.
got some big paws, man.
Incredible. Listen, it wasn't only Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter getting the blocked field goals. I love it, and great plays by them. But it was also the film study coming in that they knew the launch angle from the kicker. They knew exactly where to line up over that guard, how they were going to get pressure and then immediately get their hands up. It was just, it's incredible. A lot of guys will just mail it in on special teams, just mail it in on a field goal block.
Well, they certainly didn't mail it in. As a matter of fact, I mean, that to me seems like this is one of those plays where Nick has taken very seriously in practice. And look at what happened. 2 blocked field goals? That doesn't happen in this game.
How about this? So our man Tim McManus, who joins the show every Thursday, covers the Eagles for ESPN, he tweeted out, the last time the Eagles blocked 2 field goals in a single game, it was exactly 50 years ago to the day of yesterday's game.
Was it really?
September 21st, 1975 against the New York Giants. 50 years to the day.
Gives a new meaning to that song. It was the 21st night
of September.
I can say the same thing, that Jalen Hurts earned his right to have that moment on the sideline because he's the damn Super Bowl MVP.
Yes.
For 48 months, rebates and tax credits up to $4,300 when purchasing a heating and cooling system. Learn more at ServiceFirstHVAC.com. Alongside Kevin Cooney, I'm Ray Dunn. Guess what? Kevin Patulo decided to join the party.
Wow.
Here is the offensive coordinator of your Philadelphia Eagles.
What turned things around Sunday?
Sunday, it was a tale of two halves for sure. I think when we looked back at the game, we were able to kind of make the adjustments we needed to get it going in the second half. And, when you get in those moments, you do what you got to do to get it done. And I think that the guys were awesome at just taking into everything we needed to do and sequencing plays together and making plays and executing and getting it done.
I guess the first half was a little too conservative for your liking.
No, I wouldn't say like conservative is the word. I think, when those things happen, like we went 3 and out, obviously, a few times, you look at, okay, where was the drive starting? What was the breakdown on the play? What happened? How do we stop this? How do we get out of this? So I think when we look back on it, there's obviously things we can always learn from that. But you don't go into it saying like, hey, I got to be really conservative here. That's definitely not, something you want to do. I think it's just a matter of just going forward, just learning from those moments and how to get ourselves out of those situations.
There's an inherent shift in your approach whenever you're down 3 scores.
I think by nature, if you look around the league, when you start to have those kind of games, you got to do things a little bit differently to get yourself back into it and steal extra possessions, which is what we did by doing it the way we did it. So, yes, I think there is a little bit.
Is the success circumstantial to that, or those things that can cross over to?
No, I think if you look around, like kind of what we've done, even throughout the years and even this past first 2 games prior to that, when we kind of push the pace a little bit at times within drives, it's been successful. Just the way we had to do it was a little bit different, the amount of volume for it.
This is the second half of the first game. You guys have seen the blitz at an extremely high rate. Why do you think that has been the case?
I think really, the first half of the season, always people have all off season obviously to game plan you, right? So they're looking for ways to stop you. We've played all these teams multiple times. They know us really, really well. And so they're just looking for stuff, right? They're wanting to try new things and see what they can do against us. So I think that's a little piece of it. And I think just by nature, if you look around the league, I think pressure's up a little bit in general. I watched a little bit of the game last night and listened to someone on the radio and I drove home. So, like, you can see and just hear what's happening around the league. I think that's a little bit of a trend, and it'll probably continue.
Can I just follow up on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick? Typically, you think blitz, okay, against the pass.
Yep.
But are they doing it also to flood the run lanes?
I mean, really, when you look at it as a whole, I think it's pretty much it's every down now. Teams are doing something to create, something that they want to get done, whether it's one line of defense, whatever their identity is defensively. So, yeah, I think it's just happening more frequently in general. And like I said, if you look around the league, I think you see more of it.
What's your process for taking the information that your players bring back to you from the field and then implementing it into what you're doing?
Yeah, so that's a big part of it, right? So really, when you look at just the sideline discussions in general, we all try to, as coaches, look through the pictures first, kind of communicate, and then it goes position group by position group. I always talk to Jalen first. We go through what we're seeing, kind of what happened out there, kind of foreshadowing what we want to do. And then, I usually talk to the receivers and talk to Saquon in the backs and then work my way down and talk to the O-line. And so it's really important because they're the ones out there doing it, right? And so they give you really good information and feedback sometimes about what they're feeling, what's happening, how it's happening, and when it's happening. And ultimately, you want to put them in the best spot you can, right, for them to do their job.
There was a sequence on the sideline late in the third quarter where Jalen's like passionately talking to you and Jamal Singleton. What do you remember about that? The message he was trying to deliver?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, it wasn't really anything about anything that was a heated moment. I think it was just a play that had happened, and I don't even remember, to be honest, what we were talking about. And I know that was kind of been made a big deal, but it wasn't anything, that was a serious matter of any kind. In fact, like, Jalen and I have had really good discussions in general. If you watch those touchdown drives, and we've been driving the ball, like, him and I get very excited in general, both excited people and very competitive. So I think it's been really, really good.
In the aftermath of the game, both Jalen and AJ talked about the one for the offense to be more aggressive. Jalen characterized it as playing not to lose. What have your conversations been like with them since the game about those desires to kind of make the offense a little bit more aggressive?
Yeah, I think that's always when we go into every week, that's what we want to do, right? We want to be the aggressive person, right? The word this past week for the offense, when I spoke to the offense, was attack. We want to be in attack mode. And going into the game, that was what we wanted to do. You know, the first drive was a good drive. We went for on fourth down. We threw the ball down the red zone at the goal line. So we were in an attack mode. We got stuck in those weird situations where we just couldn't get it out of there and get it going. And then the second half, obviously, we had to play a little bit differently, but we were able to get it going. So I think, you know, they know what we want to do, and I think it was just exciting for it to happen and come back. You know, when you get emotional after games, you get excited because we were able to do something that was very difficult to do, and all the plays and the guys played tremendous. The players themselves were awesome in those moments, and the conversations and getting that done was such a big moment. It was really cool for everybody.
Kevin, how important is it? How important is it to?
Sorry, go ahead.
How important is it to be able to run the offense like you did in the second half without falling down 19 points and having to do it?
So really, when you look at it, like even through the first 3 games, right, we've played 3 different ways, right? We've won 3 different ways. We've had to make adjustments 3 different ways. And that's, you know, that's a good thing for us as an offense because, you know, to the earlier question, you don't know what you're getting nowadays, right? You show up, you think you're going to get a certain thing in the first half, and all of a sudden you look and you're like, well, that's not what we saw on tape at all. So we've got to adjust as coaches and players quickly. And so this game, right, was more of we were stuck in neutral, and then we had to adjust in a different way because of the points, and we were able to do that. So I think when you look at it, you know, you're just trying to find ways to go into a game with here's what we see, here's what we'd like to try to do, and then we got to adjust quickly if we need to, if things happen that were, you know, unexpected.
Can you translate, how helpful is it? I saw a couple times you went 3 by 1, got AJ involved. Can that translate from week to week, or is that more situational in the moment?
We always have that in. You know, it just depends on what the defense does schematically. So really, you just try to look at it each week, what gives us the best chance, you know, to identify coverage and help the quarterback out.
If I can follow up to the previous answer from Bruce's question, and I ask this philosophically, what makes you want to be reactive as opposed to proactive, right? But like in terms of seeing what the defense is presenting you as opposed to getting them to react to what you're doing?
No, I think to answer your question, you always want to be out in front of it, right? You want to be the aggressor. What we did, like on the first drive, we were doing stuff on purpose. We didn't really care what they were doing. We were going. And like I said, situationally a little bit with those backed up, you know, the way the kickoff played out for us, we had some different things happen. And we were really one play away from just getting out in front of it, making 1 first down, you know, staying at a 2nd and long and being perfectly on track. So we just got to continue to improve that, you know, as a staff and work through that, you know, with those moments when they come up in the game. But no, you always want to be the aggressor, obviously.
Mosher had a lot of experience last year on both sides. I guess probably our perception was that he'd be the swing tackle and the first guy in, either offensive tackle went down. Why wasn't he?
Really, when it looked at it, you know, just the way we had kind of practiced, Matt had played more right at that moment. And then when we made the switch, we just made the switch.
In terms of being proactive, how much did tempo allow you guys to keep them in base coverages so you knew what you were probably going to get?
Well, it can definitely help, right? Put stress on the defense, and that's what you want to do when you're in those moments. And then it obviously can help the offense. But really, when you look at it, it's all about the communication of the offensive guys, right? Because I have to get the play into Jaylen. He's got to get it to everybody and communicate it out. So in those kind of moments, you are going to tempo to put stress on the defense. But
oh, there you go. That's how you put some stress on the defense there. Is he still good? We got him.
But, you know, the coverage that's going to happen in the moment.
Are you saying the communication, because you're going quicker, it's not as, the phrasing is shorter, it's quicker, right? Is that what?
It can be very different. Without giving stuff away, it has to be different, right? Because you're going fast. There's no huddle, per se, so you got to go.
Why does Saquon have so much trouble finding room to run in it? Are there things that maybe you can do different with him?
Yeah, I think when you look at the run game the last 3 weeks, we just got to continue to work through it as a staff to try to find ways to create more space for him in the run game and take advantage of what people are giving us.
Lane's value is as evident when he's not out there. I'm sure the Tampa film last year showed that too. What changes when Lane's not on the field?
I mean, Lane's a Hall of Fame player. Like, he's an unbelievable player, and he gives you the flexibility to do a lot of things that most offenses don't have. So when he's not out there, you definitely feel it.
What does the film show is happening with the run game?
I think when you look at the run game kind of as a whole, when we line up and kind of identify what we're trying to do, right, we're getting different things this year than we've gotten in the past, right? Saquon was such a big part of our offense last year. Everybody knows, hey, he's a huge part of the offense. So it's a matter of just kind of going in there and watching and seeing. I mean, we've had some good hits here and there. We've been really, really close on a few to having explosive runs. I mean, the touchdown that he had against Kansas City, if we were on the 50-yard line, it's a 50-yard touchdown. So, like, I think it's still there. It's just been a little bit different the way it's unfolded, and especially, obviously, the game the other day in the second half, we were in such a pass mode, it just kind of didn't happen.
When you see some of those runs on third and longs, what's the thought process there as opposed to not airing it out?
Well, it depends. Obviously, we talked about the backed up piece of it, right? You got to be a little situationally aware when you're backed up versus max protecting. Defensively, like a lot of teams like to drop 8, right? And if you're dropping 8, there's only 3 guys in the front, and that means there's 8 guys in coverage. Well, it's a little bit differently, try to fit passes in versus drop 8. So you're sometimes playing those situationally because you know what the defense does.
When I say a Todd Bowles defense, what do you think of first?
Todd's an awesome coach. I worked for him for 2 years in New York. Unbelievable coach, and he's done it for a really, really long time. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, there he is, Kevin Patulo. A couple of things we're going to react to, but coming up, our assessment of the offense, his assessment of his own offense. Well, Drew Brees has an assessment of his offense from First Take today. You mentioned earlier today, Drew Brees getting a chance on First Take.
True.
He's given one.
Yeah.
He's given his first take, and it's quite a take. But to get to
a take.
The takeaway from Patulo here, he started out with the tale of two halves. Cliche, love it. Gotta work that one in there. Had to work it in there. I wouldn't say conservative is the word when he was talking about their approach offensively, and he focused on the 3 and outs and said you don't want to go into a game conservative. I agree. You shouldn't want to go into a game conservative. That's a good call by you, Kevin. A good call by you on Tuesday. Let's see that on Sunday. Pushing the pace has been successful for them, talking about going up tempo. Mentioned a lot about the fact they're seeing things that they're not seeing on tape. Which, base level, good explanation for why things haven't looked good. The next level of that conversation is
not good.
Why aren't you seeing those things?
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
We've won in 3 different ways. That's a good thing. That is a good thing. I agree with that. But he talks about going into in attack mode and getting stuck in neutral. Mentioned multiple times getting stuck. And also dropped in a little nugget there about the kickoff. He caught himself real quick. But he was talking about starting field position. Are they playing more conservative because they're starting inside their 20? I don't know. That's very interesting to see that. Our explanation for Matt Pryor, by the way, he had played more right tackle. That's good. I'm glad that he had played more right tackle. I would like to see Fred Johnson play more right tackle going forward. Week. Assuming Lane is ready to go. And then when they were talking about the tempo and the play calling, he made it very clear that he calls plays into Jalen and that sometimes the process changes, but he didn't want to go too deep into that.
In other words, he audibles.
Mm-hmm. All right, coming up. We've talked about Jalen Hurts, a quarterback that is not the prototypical height of a quarterback in the National Football League and how he fits into this offense. Well, another guy who lacked that prototypical height has conversation on this Eagles offense. I'm going to blind react to what Drew Brees had to say.
Oh, you're going to enjoy it.
I have not heard this. This is a Kevin Cooney special. So coming up, Drew Brees apparently attacking the offense of the Eagles on First Take. We'll have it for you. Alongside Kevin Cooney, I'm Ray Dunn. Middays, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Is the Eagles' offense turning a corner? I'm Sean Rodman, and Nick Sirianni told the media nothing has changed from a play-calling aspect in the second half on Sunday.
Kevin called the plays yesterday in that second half. But make no mistake about it, Jalen does a great job of communicating. Jalen sees the field really, really, really well. He can come back and tell you what happened without even looking at the picture.
And Kevin Patulo reiterated that today in his press conference. In case you missed that, that'll be podcasted on 97.5thefanatic.com. We'll see if the offense can continue its play heading into Tampa. The Birds will reportedly leave on Friday to try and get acclimated to the heat in Florida, which is a day earlier than usual. The Eagles have also claimed kick returner Xavier Gibson off of waivers to help on kickoffs. And after a poor performance against the Rams in that regard, the Phillies' magic number for the bye is down to 2. The Phils are back in action starting a 3-game series at home versus the Marlins. Christopher Sanchez scheduled to get the start for the Phillies tonight, and Edward Cabrera for the Marlins. First pitch is at 6:45. This update is brought to you by Discover. Do you know what's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide? If you guessed Discover, you guessed right, based on the February 2024 Nielsen report. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I can say the same thing, that Jalen Hurts earned his right to have that moment on the sideline because he's the damn Super Bowl MVP.
Yes.
And he won that Super Bowl. Obviously, the defense was tremendous, but by throwing the football last year. You saw the second half, a totally different Eagles team from the first two games, but the same Eagles team from the last two games of 2024 when they won the conference championship in the Super Bowl. Quote that, damn it.
I'm still in awe that they found a way to win this football game.
Jordan
It's
Davis
incredible.
got some big paws, man.
Incredible. Listen, it wasn't only Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter getting the blocked field goals. I love it, and great plays by them. But it was also the film study coming in that they knew the launch angle from the kicker. They knew exactly where to line up over that guard, how they were going to get pressure and then immediately get their hands up. It was just, it's incredible. A lot of guys will just mail it in on special teams, just mail it in on a field goal block.
Well, they certainly didn't mail it in. As a matter of fact, I mean, that to me seems like this is one of those plays where Nick has taken very seriously in practice. And look at what happened. 2 blocked field goals? That doesn't happen in this game.
How about this? So our man Tim McManus, who joins the show every Thursday, covers the Eagles for ESPN, he tweeted out, the last time the Eagles blocked 2 field goals in a single game, it was exactly 50 years ago to the day of yesterday's game.
Was it really?
September 21st, 1975 against the New York Giants. 50 years to the day.
Gives a new meaning to that song. It was the 21st night
of September.
Here on The Fanatic alongside Kevin Cooney. I'm Ray Dunn. A couple of NFL notes for you before we get Drew Brees' assessment of whatever this offense is right now for the Eagles. Speaking of offenses, the one you're going to see on Sunday will not feature Mike Evans.
No,
that news has come down. He is out for a couple of weeks now.
3 to 4.
That puts in jeopardy the 1,000-yard season streak that he's had.
They'll get a cheap. Yeah, look, they're going to have plenty of time at the end because that division stinks.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, he'll be the one that plays Week 18. Whatever. No.
Play like a portion of that second half, just
like 100% of that game and get 15 targets.
Against the Panthers, no less.
Yeah. Hey, listen, the Panthers are the new power. I don't know if you heard. The Falcons are down. The Panthers are up.
Yeah, he's. They changed wide receiver coaches. They fired.
I know. That was, man. 3 weeks in to lose your job is tough.
That is tough.
That's a brutal.
Mike Hilliard.
That's
former Giant great.
Yeah, tough. Hate to see you lose. Now Giant great. Speaking of Giant greats, look at that.
Yeah.
What you did for me, Jackson Dart.
Unlimited is
Mr. Unlimited as having his playing time limited. Russell Wilson, no longer the starting quarterback of the New York Giants.
So dumb.
Jackson Dart. I love it.
Why? They're
Go
gonna
ahead,
get
kid.
that. They're gonna get that poor kid killed.
I mean, what? As compared to?
As opposed to later in the year where the schedule eases up.
He's got to get out there on the field at some point. Might as well get him out there now. What are you winning with Russell Wilson anyways? What are you achieving with Russell Wilson?
I get it, but it's preservation. It's, you don't want to destroy the rookie's confidence.
You think he's going to go lack of confidence on this one?
Here you go. All right, their schedule. Next 6 games. Chargers, going to be tough. New Orleans is easy. I'll give you that.
There's a layup.
Eagles on a short week. Denver, at Philly, then San Francisco.
All right. Hey, kid. You want to play in this league? Start to play with the men. All right? The grown man's league. Start playing with them. I don't know. Like, what are we talking about here?
It's also good news from the Eagles' perspective because now you get, 2 extra weeks of tape on them.
That's true. Make that decision now instead
for
of
1.5, really.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin also doubtful or questionable for
no
Sunday.
Jaden Daniels and no Terry McLaurin?
Against Atlanta.
Oh, God. They keep wasting these injuries.
I know.
If you're going to get hurt against a really good opponent so you lose the game. All right.
A lot of injuries early on.
This weekend was carnage
Brutal.
there. Like the 1 o'clock and the 4
Bosa,
o'clock.
or Nick Bosa, excuse me.
Nick Bosa, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Evans we mentioned, Najee Harris, James Conner. Yeah, across the board.
A lot of year-enders, too.
Yeah, across the board. Tough go of it. All right, so this Drew Brees audio. I have not heard it yet. This was on First Take today. Drew Brees gave an assessment of the Eagles' offense. Here is what the former Saints quarterback had to say.
I respect Philly. They are winning games. They're finding a way to win games. I can't stand to watch that offense. It's the most boring offense. It is. We're in week 3. We're gonna be on every week. Let's just see how this thing plays out.
Okay. I mean, is that your way to say, can Boring win the Super Bowl championship? Can Boring repeat?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, so
But that's the toughest division in football too. Let's see how it plays out.
Wait. See, this is the bad thing because he throws that in there at the end. He distracts me.
Just smoking crack.
The toughest division in football? We just talked about whether Jackson Dart or Russell Wilson should be starting for one of the teams in this division.
He also ended that clip with CD. Well, CD catches a couple post patterns. They lose on it. Okay, they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, we could do that all we could do that all day with the if and buts of what could happen with the team. Team's 3-0. I hate this boring thing. We got into the boring thing last week because it's been thrown out there that it's not an entertaining thing, and then the Al Michaels that was throwing shade at someone. Maybe he was throwing shade at the Eagles. I think he was throwing shade at the Eagles on Thursday Night Football last week, saying that the Bills were actually entertaining to watch as opposed to other good teams. To me, they've got the most intriguing play in football because everybody talks about it all the time, and every time they do it, I'm intrigued to watch it in the tush push. When you look at the stars on this team, even when it's not going good, are you not intrigued by one-handed A.J. Brown falling down catch? Are you not intrigued by A.J. Brown battling with guys in the secondary? You're not intrigued by watching Devontae Smith run routes?
This is a soap opera with this team. I don't think people understand. Like, there's a lot of levels here.
Yeah, I just push back on this not entertaining thing. Like, boring as compared to what?
Like, who in the NFC exactly then is riveting to watch?
Yeah. Like,
are the Cowboys riveting to watch?
I'm dying to watch Tucker Kraft catch his second touchdown pass this week.
Like, maybe the Rams a little bit because of Nakua and Adams, maybe. But Matt Stafford's older than dirt.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they're intriguing, but they're intriguing in the same thing where you're talking about star players doing star player things. They have star players on this offense.
Are the Bucs intriguing? Like, I guess the Packers would be intriguing and fun to watch now that they have Parsons. Like, there's going to be a lot of attention Sunday night. It's going to be a 25-point game, but...
Also, to say it after the second half that they had, like, the timing here for this boring comment, to me, is like...
Like, you know who else was boring? The Patriots were boring under Belichick. They were.
I don't, like, I'm trying to figure out where the line is for him. Like, what was it boring until the end of that first half, and then it got exciting in the second half, and you're just upset that it was boring for that long? Because then, okay, fine. I'll tell you, I would prefer the second half offense of that Rams game to the first 10 quarters of the season. I'm okay with that. But when he calls it boring after last week, I'm confused as to where the boring is.
I don't know. I don't get, like, you know, Jordan Love throwing to receivers that 90% of the people haven't really paid attention to. You know, is that more exciting?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess boring in the sense of, if you want to say that the design of it has not been rather complex for the first couple weeks, I'll sign up with that.
Yeah.
If you're telling me it's boring just because you don't like the fact that they're winning games because it doesn't look pretty, then I think you're just trying to find something to say to get me to talk about you. So congrats, Drew Brees. You win. Again.
He is insistent, by the way. He would be like the second best analyst in the sport if he ever got like a full time. I watched that Bengal game, the Bengal Raider playoff game he did. He got no hope. None.
Nope. All right, coming up. I wanted to continue Eagles conversation, of course, as we go through here today. But I do want to get back to some Phillies conversation because we do have a postseason that opens next week across Major League Baseball. And then by the end of that week, we expect the Phillies to be getting ready for their National League Divisional Series. And I love the armchair manager conversation with building this lineup. Alec Boehm had himself a weekend.
Yeah.
His October performances, we remember what happened in 2024. I remember having the conversation in 2023, should we batting cleanup? Where does he fit in this picture lineup-wise? What does this lineup look like at full strength? We'll jump into that coming up next. Alongside Kevin Cooney, I'm Ray Dunn. Middays, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Now, a Birds Insider Update on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
You always want to be the aggressor. I'm Sean Rodman, and that's what Kevin Patulo said when asked about being proactive versus reactive early in the games for the offense. Patulo also reiterated during his press conference that what Sirianni said, that he was the one calling plays in the second half still. That will be podcasted on 97.5thefanatic.com in case you missed it, and we'll see if the success in the second half will continue heading into Week 4 in Tampa. The Eagles will be heading down on Friday, reportedly, to get acclimated to the Florida Heat. That's a day earlier than usual. Patulo, in his press conference, also told the media that Matt Pryor went in over Fred Johnson originally because Pryor had more reps at right tackle than Fred Johnson in practice. The Eagles have also claimed kick returner Xavier Gibson off of waivers before they head to Tampa Bay for a Week 4 matchup. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I don't think I will ever pick against the Eagles again. Because this team, we say it all the time, it's a cliche. They find ways to win. They find ways to win. If you can't beat a team that comes out in the first half like that, I'm not sure anybody is ever going to beat this Eagles team. Because you look at that first half, and it was ugly. The Eagles looked fortunate for it to be 19-7. And then you're thinking any momentum that they could have getting the ball to start the third quarter wiped away with a Jared Verse strip sack. It's 26-7. It's over, right, Ricky Bo? It's over.
Oh, it's never over with this team. It really, you know what? The biggest take I have out of this is that they went into the locker room, they came out pissed off. I mean, in a good sense. This is a team that was down 19 points at one time in this game. 19 points in football. You know, I mean, that you usually don't come back from that. This is a team that has too much pride. This is a team that's going to keep coming at you no matter what. As a matter of fact, as you know, I was over at NBC yesterday. I said, this game is not over. This team, if they score coming out of the half, I said this could be a completely different game. And it turned out it was a completely different game. And you learned something. You learned a lot about the offense. You learned that the offense is still there. They can still click. And guess who's alive, ladies and gentlemen? A.J. Brown.
To see a little bit of fire in that case is nice because it's like, okay, maybe that is the step in leadership that a lot of people wanted him to have. And that is like the Brady-esque. I still don't think he's going to be the guy that breaks the Microsoft tablet and, starts to threaten the offensive coaches around him. But, I mean, you saw a decent level of, like, we got to figure this out. Like, I need you to do that for me when it came to Patulo.
Well, and I think that was the thing. I needed to see that because it's like when a manager or a coach sees something going wrong and they're not that. Rob Thompson, for example, right? And everybody's like, well, he should get tossed out. For the, okay, well, if you do it every single game, then you just become a clown and that loses its luster as well. So for Jalen Hurts to have that point of like, he's obviously seeing something. And that's where the give and take with an offensive coordinator. So we were talking about earlier with, is it a different play caller? Did something happen between the first half and the second half? No, but there could be that change in the relationship of, here's what I saw, now I'm giving you this input, and now we can change that because it is a collaboration. Right?
And for all we know, Patulo could have said to him, hey, man, get a little bit more aggressive. And Hurts
said, all right.
All right.
That's what I told you I was going to do.
Yeah. Welcome back. Midday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic alongside Kevin Cooney. I'm Ray Dunn. Sean Rodman producing the show, and I have to rip one of our own real quick.
Go ahead.
Speaking of producing the show, our YouTube producer, Brandon Dutz, does a fantastic job. You see the clips on social media. He puts them up there. Sometimes he does put us in precarious situations with the way he titles said clips. He put me in a real bind. I forget what he captioned it, and I was like, I'm going to get crushed for this. And I was preparing for the wave to crush me.
Was it about your dating history?
No. Actually, funny enough, I have had someone reach out to me asking me if I'm interested in doing dating-themed content. So I could be branching out beyond.
Nobody ever asked me that.
Just
never.
Stephen A. has taken the world of politics. I'm going into the dating space. That's apparently where I'm headed next.
That might be something I'd pay attention to and watch.
I'm be honest.
There's some content there.
I think there's more people who are more interested in that aspect of my life than what I think about sports. I would say there's a decent portion of people who listen that'd be more interested in that.
I am kind of living my life through you.
I appreciate that. I'm trying my best to keep.
Yeah, you're half my age, and
I'm trying to keep everyone around here entertained.
Oh, sure.
I do it for the content. I do this for all of you. Really, when you think about it, it's not about me. It's about everyone else. But yeah, so
get to the point, Ray. That's my fault.
No, Dutz is upset because he knows he's about to get ripped. Last segment, we mentioned Jackson Dart's making the start. for the Giants this week, right? Yeah, we mentioned this. We had a nice little back and forth here.
Yeah.
I disagreed with Kevin. Kevin was like, don't start the rookie. He's going to get crushed. I'm like, the hell with it. Might as well get him experience. What are you doing with Russell Wilson? We had a nice back and forth. So the guy that's right now paid to be working the YouTube, to be making sure the stream cuts back and forth between Kevin when he's talking, when I'm talking, when Sean Rodman's talking, and to cut clips from the show. Sends a text over to you, Sean Rod.
Yes, he does.
And says what?
From James Palmer, he sends the tweet about Jackson Dart starting, and he just goes, breaking. I respond with, we just talked about this. And he said, there's no shot. And he had to go back during the break, came in here and rewound and actually heard us talking about it.
Yeah.
Now, breaking sports news from 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
The Eagles won the Super Bowl. Just come up with your old...
Somebody let Dutz know that the Broncos have actually lost the last 2 weeks by one possession. All right? I just want him to know because I think news travels a little slow to him. And I don't think we've broken it down for him yet.
Does Dutz know about the Hindenburg yet?
You know what really bothers me about this? He used to go after Bill all the time. And still goes after Bill. And I appreciate that. I need an ally against Bill in this building. But...
Well, I'm kind of there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that about you, too. Yeah. I know who's in the trenches with me. Yeah. Sean's not. Sean would stab me in the back as fast as he possibly could. I know that about Sean immediately.
Just get him a Sabrina Carpenter tape and he'd be happy.
The same could be said about Ray there, too.
Yeah, I'm a big Sabrina Carpenter fan. If she, I'm going to leave that one alone. What is going on?
What's with the echo?
I have no idea.
Take the phone line down. Take the phone line down. How about now? Yeah, okay.
All right.
They're working on the phones. So,
we're working on the phone.
Yeah, and that you're going to hear us twice when that was. I don't know. Don't look at me. But regardless, Dutz. The point is, you go after Colarulo all the time. You got Colarulo tendencies right now. Not paying attention to the show. That bothers me. It bothers me a little bit. I'll be honest about it. All right, let's get to the Phillies.
Dave, bread now comes sliced.
Let's get to the Phillies here. The lineup.
You can't see it because you're blocked.
I can't see any. Yeah, I can't see what Dave said. I can't see what Dave said. He blocked me. He blocked me on the YouTube. If you missed it earlier, one of our YouTube commenters has blocked me on YouTube but continues to watch the show. I don't understand how it happened.
Thanks for the viewership.
Yeah, thanks for the viewership. All right, the Phillies lineup here.
Look at the fun I miss when I'm having to, work at the real job.
I know. This we're just having a great time here. I've been trying to get back to the Phillies here, and I can't get myself to it. Alec Boehm had a heck of a weekend out there in Arizona.
Yeah,
Well, I think a lot of people were not tuned in because...
The Philly, by the way, under the most pressure in the playoffs.
You believe so?
Oh, absolutely.
So part of it is what he's playing for his future. But before we get to with his future, the present, the here and now, Bader's been obviously hitting leadoff in the time without Trey Turner. Right. Turner, expecting him to have him back for the postseason.
Yep.
Sosa, they're expecting to have him back, I think, today, right?
Yeah,
Today
he's supposed to be
activated today. Boehm's obviously back from his stint on the IL. A fully healthy Philadelphia Phillies lineup. How are you drawing this up?
All right, who's starting, lefty or righty?
Let's start with the righty on the mound.
All right, Turner, Schwarber, Harper. Real Muto, Bader, Marsh.
Wow. All right.
Lefty, or righty, lefty, lefty, righty, righty, lefty, then Boehm, Kepler, stop.
So you're going back to the two lefties there at the bottom.
Yep.
Interesting. So you are still rolling with Real Muto
cleanup.
Why?
Decent amount of his chase rate's not too bad. He's shown some pop. I know he's struggled a little bit on the coast trip. But I just trust him to have a level head in those spots. I don't know if I necessarily trust any of the other righties in there. I don't trust Boehm. I'm not sure I'd put Bader there right away. I just think he would have the best at-bats. How's that?
It's fair, and it's something I'm continuously racking around in my brain as I keep putting together these lineups of the Boehm Marsh stack in a lineup.
Yeah.
Where, like, when you have the two of them next to each other in that lineup, what does it do for you? Like, am I worried that that's a part that could go tremendously cold and go haywire pretty quickly against the right-hander?
It could.
So that's right now what I'm working towards figuring out.
You want the lefty lineup I have?
Yes.
Turner, Schwarber, Real Muto, Harper, Bader, Marsh, Bohm, Casty, Stott. Now,
Okay, so you're keeping
Jess Castellanos would be freaking out on me on that one.
Yes, it's been a weekend.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, never helps.
No,
never helps.
Never
when the family's tweeting. I appreciate your love and support of.
I mean, you're going to have to put Castellanos in there against the lefty.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't need to hit him high.
No, in my lineup, because I'm not. I understand why you're splitting up Schwarber and Arbor, because you're going to go basically the entire bottom of the lineup all right-handed.
Yeah.
And I missed that. Sorry, who do you have left in that lineup?
Who do I have? I have Marsh.
Okay, so you're abandoning both the left field and the second base platoon in the postseason.
Yes.
Okay, I am open
with the idea that Sosa could be off a bench later on.
I'm open to the idea of moving off of the left field platoon because of what it does for you defensively.
Mm-hmm.
I still think the upside of having Sosa hit against the lefty is enough for me to go from Gold Gloves to above average in terms of defense there at second base.
It's fair, and I'm not completely sold on I would not go Sosa Stott, in a platoon. But I'm assuming what they're going to do. I think they'll go Stott with the idea with the defense because of the pitching.
Interesting. Yeah, and I think defensively, outfield wise, they're not going to mess with Wilson out there as the left fielder. That's the biggest thing. I also don't think that they're going to lean that way, where they'll have Wilson out there and left because of the defense Marsh provides you compared to Wilson, which is why I agree with your abandoning of the left field platoon.
Question is, will Wilson make the roster?
Yeah, which is a bigger question I want to get to here. The idea, and I mentioned, I assume you read Gelb talking about the 12-man pitching staff for a 5-game rotation.
Maybe. Yeah.
Who would be the extra hitter in that scenario? I want to get to that coming up because there's a name that's been floated. Amy Fadul and I had a nice back and forth about this last week. I'm interested to get your thoughts on it as well. He's Kevin Cooney. I'm Ray Dunn. This is Middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
It's the Eagles' offense earning the corner. I'm Sean Rodman, and Nick Sirianni told the media nothing changed from a play calling aspect in the second half on Sunday.
Kevin called the plays yesterday in that second half. But make no mistake about it, Jalen does a great job of communicating. Jalen sees the field really, really, really well. He can come back and tell you what happened without even looking at the picture.
Kevin Patulo reiterated that during his press conference today. In case you missed it, that's podcasted on 975thefanatic.com. And we'll see if the offense can continue its play heading into Tampa. The Birds will reportedly leave on Friday to try to get acclimated to the heat in Florida, which is a day earlier than usual. The Eagles have claimed wide receiver and kick returner Xavier Gibson off waivers to help on kickoffs. And the Phillies' magic number for the bye is down to 2 games. The Phillies are back in action tonight, starting a 3-game series at home versus the Marlins. Christopher Sanchez is scheduled to start for the Phils, and Edward Cabrera for the Marlins. First pitch is at 6:45. This update is brought to you by the International Hot Rod Association. International Hot Rod Association in Duran Hybrid, where the road of the engine meets the torque of the wrench. Building champions on the track and in the trades. Get your tickets at ihra.com. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Jalen Hurts just had to take charge. And nothing makes me happier. Nothing that I'm taking away from yesterday makes me happier than seeing Jalen Hurts get fiery, get a little angry, and literally telling his offensive coordinator, this is how it's run.
Yeah.
Period. No spin job, no nothing. This is how it's run. You don't have to be a lip reader to be able to see what he said.
Yeah, it was pretty clear.
And Kevin Patulo was the student, and the quarterback was the teacher, and everything changed.
3 days before kickoff, John Kincade had a random worry of Kevin Patulo that came out of nowhere. It was in the middle of the Phillies season, and John was worried.
It was in my head.
And I tried making you feel better by saying, well, maybe Jalen Hurts will be a big part of this offense. And through the first 2 weeks and half of week 3, he really wasn't. except for a few check-ins at the line of scrimmage every once in a while. But to your point, that moment yesterday, Jalen took over. And for all the Jalen Hurts naysayers, for all the doubters, for all the, hey, he's only good because of the players around him, that was the Jalen Hurts second half yesterday. Obviously, credit to the defense holding the Rams to only 7 points. But what Jalen Hurts did in that second half yesterday is why you feel so comfortable.
If you can't beat the Eagles when they play a first half like that, is anybody going to beat this team? Like, and that's not even hyperbole. I mean,
it's not going to be easy.
Listen to this, Ricky. Not only are they 3-0 on the season, they are 19-1 in their last 20 games. Do you know how crazy that is? Do you know how spoiled we are right now as a fan base? They have won 19 of their last 20 games. They're 17-0 when Jalen Hurts starts and finishes. Think about that for a second. 17 straight wins with Jalen Hurts starting and finishing the game. Here's another wild stat. Jalen Hurts just had his 19th straight game without throwing for 300 yards.
That's unbelievable.
They're 18-1.
Yeah, but you don't need
18-1.
You don't need it. I mean, this
you can't beat this team.
Closing on the 1 o'clock hour here on WPEN, WPEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. And a little bit, like I ventured into college football earlier because of the insane Lane Kiffin daughter dating LSU star linebacker storyline that they hard launched their relationship on Instagram. They go Instagram official. For those of you that don't understand any of those phrases, they announced they're dating. That's the best way we could put that out there for you. The week of Ole Miss, LSU. He's an LSU linebacker. Lane Kiffin, the coach of Ole Miss. That's this weekend, 3:30 down there. I believe it's at Ole Miss.
Yes. Game day not there.
Where is game day this week? Penn State. That's right. That's right.
My favorite.
I forgot that.
My buddy.
I forgot that everybody has an anti-Penn State bias. Shout out Double M on that one. When I saw Penn State
you know what the best part is? If they lose to Oregon, Double M's going to have an anti-Penn State head coach bias.
Well, Franklin is what Franklin is at this point. You know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens this weekend up there. I had a little inclination to try and make the trek up there to go see it. Part of me was.
You were talking about that.
Yeah, I was talking about that. I was also talking about
going
to
the whiteout.
Yeah, I wanted to do that game. I was there in 2019, the game where Michigan had to call timeout before the first play. That environment was insane. I mean,
the whiteout is awesome.
Like going up there and thinking about me at that point, like where I was in life at that point to be up there for that, have the whole day leading up to that game.
Yeah, you were just a kid at that point.
I was living. That was something else.
Now you're a grizzled old 25.
Yeah.
I remember the first time you and I worked a show together. It was during the Christmas holidays.
Yes.
And I looked and went, no, really? This kid?
Yeah.
He's like 22.
People still, I think that's honestly why I grew the beard, because I think there was a lot of times I was walking through the hallways here and people were like, oh, lost college kid that's shadowing for the day. It's like, no, I work here. I promise.
That's why you grew the beard. That had nothing to do with like the garage or anything. No.
It's got a mix. There's people that like facial hair, people that don't. You know.
All right, so when you're at garage.
All right, now we've really lost our minds here.
Sure,
Where are we going? Right ahead. Yeah, right ahead. When I'm at garage, go ahead.
You and Connor, like, hang out together and,
We do the whole, hey. No, we do. We hang out together.
Is it like, it's a dated SNL skit where or it's like, the Roxbury crew, where it's like, you're dancing. Hey, how are you?
No, not like
you're
that.
good? Okay.
No, not like that. It is funny. This weekend we were there, and I didn't know that Connor was there, and I'm sitting there with I was there with the Temple crew. I was there with a buddy. Oh, it was me and my buddy that after the Temple crew had left, we're sitting there just catching up. And I ended up seeing Connor. I walked over to Connor, and Connor's like, damn, you weren't supposed to see me. And I was like, all right, man, I didn't think we did that bad on pregame last week. Like, what happened?
I know where your pregame prep meetings are now.
I was like, well, felt like we didn't do that bad. Hey, Connor's like, no. He's like, I just sent 2 drinks to come over to you guys to make it seem like there was someone interested in you here at the bar, and the bartenders were in on it. And I was like, oh, that would have been a great bit. It would have been so good. I would have been sitting there like, oh, yeah, I must look good tonight. And it was just Connor that was pranking us the whole time.
Dave P., they play Mario Kart together.
We live in the same neighborhood. We go to the same places.
I work in that neighborhood.
Yeah, it's a good spot. I enjoy it. Things that I also enjoy.
Yes.
The I'm a man. I'm 40.
Oh, yes. Go back to Mike Gundy.
We got news. Breaking news in the college football world, which is where we started this segment going to talk about, was Mike Gundy out. Mike Gundy out at Oklahoma State.
2 years.
One day after the anniversary of the I'm a man, I'm 40 presser.
By the way, 2 years after he almost made the playoff.
I know. College world changes quick.
Dabo, come on down.
Dabo going to survive up there in Clemson after this year?
Boy, he looked like a coach who had been wiped out this weekend by losing to Syracuse at home.
Yeah.
And, I'll go somewhere else and I'll be one. Let's be real. Dabo's first is going to be on a ESPN set, whether it's ACC Network or he'll be in when Saban gets another job,
Oh, so he's going to. You think Saban's going back?
No, I'm kidding.
I was going to say, I don't think he's going back either.
But there's obviously an empty chair there after Corso left, so I can see Dabo there.
I'm a man.
Yeah. That
Mike
was
Gundy.
one of the great rants.
It was one of the great rants. One of the great press conferences.
One of the great mullets, too.
Yes.
Mike Gundy.
But Gundy.
All right.
I'm a man.
Out. That's also,
now what relative's going to be taking over for him?
So this gets me to a conversation
Yes,
I want to
I
have
know.
today.
That's not true.
One thing I want to. So we said yesterday on the show, we've sprinkled in some sports news nationally over the last couple of days. Bruce Pearl yesterday announced his retirement.
Yes.
And it's announced that Bruce Pearl's son is going to take over. Now, for those of you that don't know Stephen Pearl, you're not alone. If you look into his background, he did, I think, a year of sales, then took a job with Auburn, and has been on that coaching staff now for the better part of the last, 7-8 years.
Right.
Stephen Pearl, now the head coach at Auburn. Bruce Pearl, retiring. Wonder how that decision was made.
I know.
Bruce Pearl.
Extensive search.
Previously was critical of LeBron James for the nepotism that was shown in drafting Bronny James. So I want to ask the question here at 610-632-0975. As a little aside for all of you, what is the more offensive use of nepotism? The biggest abuse of nepotism here? Having your son drafted to an NBA roster at the end of the second round, or handing off a top 25 college basketball program to your
Team that
son?
went to the Final Four last year.
Yes. Which one is the bigger case
I
of
think this is
nepotism?
more, to me, insulting because of the fact that he's doing it so late in the game. Like, he's quitting basically 20 days before Midnight Madness. Like
Yeah.
the 15th of October.
That's the way that's the way, unfortunately, this is like kind of the business.
This is the business now. Tony Bennett did it.
Yeah.
I was looking at I'm like, boy, Jay waited late. But then you pointed out.
April. It was just in April.
Yeah. Jay was like 3 weeks after the season.
Yeah.
And they went to the Final Four.
Well, yeah, because they play so
they went
darn late into the season.
I know. So, yeah, I find this, and obviously Pearl, look, Bruce Pearl always does things a little, flimsy, I guess is the right term. I don't know if that is the right term, but.
But, I mean, this is a massive case of nepotism.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, there's at least the element of, like, Bronny pre-heart condition was like a prospect that, like, people anticipated to play high-level Division I, probably should have stayed longer in school, develop his game.
But think of this, okay? All right, so when Jay quits, it's kind of set Kyle Neptune takes over. Now, that didn't work out, okay? When Coach K quits, it's set up for, what's his name down there now? Shire. Okay? There is succession lines. I don't mind that.
Mm-hmm.
I do mind where there's not an appearance, at least, of an. How's this like a. Like, look, we both have done enough college sports. How's this going to play with, like, Title IX? I mean, if you work at a college, there's job postings that have to sit there 30 days before anything can happen. How does this work at a school like Auburn?
So, to me, there was enough smoke to this retirement fire that I'm curious if this was just reported now, but it's been something that's been
in the works
over the last couple weeks. Because there have been suggestion that this was going to happen.
Well, because there was talk of him running for the Senate against Tommy Tuberville.
Yes. So I think this didn't just happen.
Yeah.
I think it just got out.
As I said, by the way, the one thing, and we're not a political show, but Tuberville versus Pearl, does the winner guarantee, like, if Pearl beats Tuberville, does that mean Auburn's now a basketball school?
I think Auburn is a basketball school at this point.
As opposed to football?
I think success-wise.
Yeah.
Like.
I mean, they're not bad.
No, they're not bad at football, but they've been a Final Four team in basketball.
They probably should have won last week at Oklahoma.
But they didn't.
Because the officials
Because the Sooners are good. That's a good Oklahoma squad. Watched it with my own two eyes.
Well,
Coming up.
you watch them against a double A team.
Stop it.
Although they play well at Georgia Tech this weekend.
They did. Yeah. They had it down to a one-score game. I was sitting there. You better believe I was in front of my TV losing my mind.
Watching the CW.
All right, coming up, we talked a lot about the offense for the Eagles. Defensively, one thing that sticks out big time over the performance on Sunday and the performance continuously against Sean McVay. We'll get to it. He's Kevin Cooney. I'm Ray Dunn. This is the Midday Show, 97.5 The Fanatic.
I think it was the craziest Eagles game I've ever seen. And I am a lot older than you, in case you haven't figured that one out. That is the craziest Eagles game I've ever seen. In the fact that I think that was the worst first half I arguably have ever seen the Eagles play offensively as long as I've watched them. And that was the most amazing second half turnaround that I potentially have ever seen.
The one game I'll rival is Eagles-Giants miracle at the Meadowlands, the multiple touchdowns
which
in
was
third,
the Michael
quarter.
Vick fourth
yeah,
quarter.
Deshaun Jackson punt
which
return.
was crazy.
Yeah.
That was the problem is that the Eagles were in that other game didn't look as inept. The Giants defense had actually held them down in that Giant game.
And in this first half yesterday, they looked inept.
No, they looked inept and until Jalen Hurts just had to take charge. And nothing makes me happier. Nothing that I'm taking away from yesterday makes me happier than seeing Jalen Hurts get fiery, get a little angry, and literally telling his offensive coordinator, this is how it's run.
Yeah.
Period. No spin job, no nothing. This is how it's run. You don't have to be a lip reader. to be able to see what he said.
Yeah, it was pretty clear.
And Kevin Patulo was the student, and the quarterback was the teacher. And everything changed.
And you know what? During your 50 days of therapy, because 50 days before kickoff, John Kincade had a random worry of Kevin Patulo that came out of nowhere. It was in the middle of the Phillies season, and John was worried.
It was in my head.
And I tried making you feel better by saying, well, maybe Jalen Hurts will be a big part of this offense. And through the first 2 weeks and half of week 3, he really wasn't, except for a few check-ins at the line of scrimmage every once in a while. But to your point, that moment yesterday, Jalen took over. And for all the Jalen Hurts naysayers, for all the doubters, for all the, hey, he's only good because of the players around him, that was the Jalen Hurts second half yesterday. Obviously, credit to the defense holding the Rams to only 7 points, and we will talk about it over the course of the show. But what Jalen Hurts did in that second half yesterday is why you feel so comfortable. It's why when Rich Eisen last Monday, 1 week ago today.
And we played it multiple days.
Yep, we played it multiple days. He talked about how the Eagles have this air of invincibility to them. And yesterday's game is the prime example of it. Like, they were dead. That game was over. Halftime's done. You come out the second half, and right away you turn the football over, and right away the Rams score, and you're like, all right, this game is over. There's no way they're winning this football game. And then something clicked. Something clicked defensively. Something clicked offensively. Maybe it was Fred Johnson being put into the game and not Matt Pryor, who probably should never play again. I mean, yesterday, that second half, it was the tale of two halves. And once again, it leads to another victory, and they're 3-0. That's why what Rich Eisen said last week, that's why we played it so many times.
The midday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic alongside Kevin Cooney. I'm Ray Dunn. Sean Robin produced the show. Coming up in about 10 minutes' time, we'll have Jeff Mosher of Inside the Birds and Philly Voice. He's been joining us Tuesdays here in football season.
Love Moshe.
Yeah, does tremendous work. Inside the Birds, Philly Voice. And we get him right after pretty much the film breakdown for the week for him. So we get him at peak football guy mind, and it is just fun to just set him up and just learn. Sit here and listen. Listen and learn. It's the way I enjoy my 1 o'clocks on Tuesday.
I will take my notes.
Sounds good. As will I. And then I'll reuse the audio three more times this week. I can assure you of that. One thing that stuck out while we're having this conversation about the Eagles game on Sunday, that there was the Athletics sizing up the NFL's 6 undefeated teams. The pick 6 from Mike Sando was something I went and just wanted to go look at after the game. It was interesting that the Eagles column begins with, I'm more afraid of the Rams than I am Philly, an exec from another NFC team said. I think Philly is suffering from a Super Bowl hangover, and I think there are ways to beat Jalen Hurts. They've got to be on it and run the ball perfectly, which would not be my takeaway from the first 3 weeks of this season. The Super Bowl hangover might be there, and teams are doing a lot to try and slow them down.
Right.
But they've won 3 games, and they have to run the ball perfectly, I think has been dispelled over the last 4 games they've played as a team, because I don't think they've run the ball perfectly in any of those 4 games. And they've looked, haven't looked particularly great in 10 of those quarters, but they've won all 4 of those last games. I'm including the Super Bowl in that sample size. But going down this path of what's written about them, the Eagles' defense is one of the NFL's youngest in the past quarter century. It held Rams' Matthew Stafford to 2 completions that gained 15-plus yards in 29 attempts. Only San Francisco has held the Rams to a lower rate of explosive pass games in 40 games over the past 3 seasons. To me, we talked about going into this game, one of the reasons I was confident in it was the Fangio-McVay impact. The fact still remains, they cannot generate enough of the explosive plays that are commonplace in a McVay offense against Fangio, time and time again. And it's just so impressive to watch, even as they put up 26 unanswered pretty much on the Birds at that point when you get to the third quarter. They're stopped for field goals enough times to make it work. Fangio was asked about that today. He said, well, if there are 4 more points on the board,
they scored 2 touchdowns.
He continues to do that. I even go back to in the Sirianni era, back Sean Desai being a Fangio disciple, only 14 points in that game in 2023. their ability to do what they do defensively against McVay is so incredibly impressive year in and year out when the rest of the league really has never been on that wavelength with him.
No, the only one who is close to the same wavelength against McVay, I think, is San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
I think, what the Niners have done through multiple coordinators and all that is close. But you're right. They've shut down McVay. I almost think for McVay it's become a mental block. Because, as I said, in the first hour, McVay made a big deal of, we're going to be aggressive, we're going to be aggressive,
Right.
we're going to be aggressive to Pam Oliver. And then suddenly they got passive.
Yeah.
The fourth and 2, they didn't go for it. Or the 4th and goal that they kicked a field goal. At some point, if you're feeling that way, you got to go for it. And that's not what McVay did. And that really hurt him.
Yeah. I mean, that inconsistency again in his game management is, I think, the massive difference between
If Sirianni did that game, then we would be screaming bloody murder.
Right. I mean, there are still people that are upset for the aggressiveness on 4th and 6 at the 50-yard line.
I
Were
agree.
you upset with that?
I didn't like it. No.
Why not? Or why didn't you like it?
I thought at that point you kind of had the Rams reeling. I thought the momentum was pin them deep. Your punter, Braden Mann, did a great job on Sunday. Pin them deep. See if you could, let it go,
Yeah, I'm not of that belief just because I think when you have things rolling like that offensively, I want to see them keep going. Like when they go score that touchdown in the first half, I'm glad they're going for it on 4th down. When you have it going offensively, I want to see you go and try and impose your will here, especially at the 50-yard line.
Right.
And I'm playing the possession game of the number of points I need versus if they have a long drive, even if you stop them to a field goal by pinning them deep, I'm probably now out of time to really capitalize.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
I'm thinking at that point,
There's more clock.
just attack. Just go full attack mode. Just be aggressive in that mode. So that's why I was okay with that on 4th down there.
All right, I get it.
Coming up, Jeff Mosher, Inside the Birds, Philly voice. We're looking to get what he feels. Alongside Kevin Cooney, I'm Ray Dunn. This is Middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Is the Eagles' offense turning a corner? I'm Sean Rodman, and Nick Sirianni told the media nothing changed from a play-calling aspect in that second half on Sunday against the Rams.
Kevin called the plays yesterday in that second half. But make no mistake about it, Jalen does a great job of communicating. Jalen sees the field really, really, really well. He can come back and tell you what happened without even looking at the picture.
Kevin Patulo reiterated that in his press conference earlier today as well. That's podcasted on 975thefanatic.com, and we'll see if the offense can continue its good play in that second half heading into Tampa Bay. The Birds will reportedly leave on Friday to try to get acclimated to the heat in Florida, which is a day earlier than usual. The Eagles have claimed wide receiver and kick returner Xavier Gibson off waivers to help on kickoffs after their poor performance against the Rams on Sunday. In that department, the Phillies' magic number for a bye is down to 2 games. The Phils are back in action tonight, starting a 3-game series at home versus the Marlins. Christopher Sanchez is scheduled to get the start for the Phils, and Edward Cabrera for the Marlins. First pitch is at 6:45. This update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Looking for an exceptional driving experience? Experience the power, precision, and intelligence of an iconic Mercedes-Benz SUV at your local Mercedes-Benz dealer today. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I think it was the craziest Eagles game I've ever seen. And I am a lot older than you, in case you haven't figured that one out. That is the craziest Eagles game I've ever seen. In the fact that I think that was the worst first half I arguably have ever seen the Eagles play offensively as long as I've watched them. And that was the most amazing second half turnaround that I potentially have ever seen.
The one game I'll rival is Eagles-Giants miracle at the Meadowlands, the multiple touchdowns
Which
in
was
the third,
the
fourth
Michael
quarter.
Vick fourth
yeah,
quarter.
Deshaun Jackson punt
Which was
return.
crazy.
Yeah.
That was the problem is that the Eagles were in that other game didn't look as inept. The Giants defense had actually held them down in that Giant game.
And in this first half yesterday, they looked inept.
No, they looked inept and until Jalen Hurts just had to take charge. And nothing makes me happier. Nothing that I'm taking away from yesterday makes me happier than seeing Jalen Hurts get fiery, get a little angry, and literally telling his offensive coordinator, this is how it's run.
Yeah.
Period. No spin job, no nothing. This is how it's run. You don't have to be a lip reader to be able to see what he said.
Yeah, it was pretty clear.
And Kevin Patulo was the student, and the quarterback was the teacher. And everything changed.
And you know what? During your 50 days of therapy, because 50 days before kickoff, John Kincade had a random worry of Kevin Patulo that came out of nowhere. It was in the middle of the Phillies season, and John was worried.
It was in my head.
And I tried making you feel better by saying, well, maybe Jalen Hurts will be a big part of this offense. And through the first 2 weeks and half of week 3, he really wasn't, except for a few check-ins at the line of scrimmage every once in a while. But to your point, that moment yesterday, Jalen took over. And for all the Jalen Hurts naysayers, for all the doubters, for all the, hey, he's only good because of the players around him, that was the Jalen Hurts second half yesterday. Obviously, credit to the defense holding the Rams to only 7 points, and we will talk about it over the course of the show. But what Jalen Hurts did in that second half yesterday is why you feel so comfortable. It's why when Rich Eisen last Monday, 1 week ago today.
And we played it multiple days.
Yep, we played it multiple days. He talked about how the Eagles have this air of invincibility to them. And yesterday's game is the prime example of it. Like, they were dead. That game was over. The halftime's done. You come out the second half, and right away you turn the football over, and right away the Rams score, and you're like, all right, this game is over. There's no way they're winning this football game. And then something clicked. Something clicked defensively. Something clicked offensively. Maybe it was Fred Johnson being put into the game and not Matt Pryor, who probably should never play again. I mean, yesterday, that second half, it was the tale of two halves. And once again, it leads to another victory, and they're 3-0. That's why what Rich Eisen said last week, that's why we played it so many times.
I think it was the craziest Eagles game I've ever seen.
Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic alongside Kevin Cooney. I'm Ray Dunn. Sean Rodman producing the show, and as has become tradition here in football season, the 1 o'clock hour on Tuesday, we get a chance to talk to one of my favorite people when it comes to breaking down the Birds and just have a conversation about football on the radio with. It is the man from Inside the Birds and Philly Voice, Jeff Mosher on the Comcast Business Hotline. Jeff, how are you today?
What's up, fellas? What's going on? Good to talk to both of you.
Great to talk to you. I was worried there for a second. I saw the phone line freeze up me again. I was like, no, don't take this Jeff segment from me.
I know.
I want to get right to the conversation that we had all last week leading up to the game and now following the game, the offense and what exactly it looks like. What is the biggest thing you took away from the first half to the second half with what changed with this offense?
You know, so I did a deep dive. I went back and looked at the All-22 yesterday, and I tried to figure out myself what was going on. And not to be cliche, it's really never one thing. But what I did in my research is I charted, there were 17 plays that the Eagles ran, not counting the kneel down before the half, between when they scored their touchdown in the first quarter after the Stafford interception. And then what I call the opening, the play that broke the dam, which was the 38-yard pass to A.J. Brown in the third quarter that then set up the touchdown to Dallas Goedert. And in those 17 plays, the Eagles netted 9 yards. I believe it was 4 straight 3-and-outs, might have even been 5. And what I noted that Saquon Barkley was either a ball carrier or a pass catcher on 10 of those 17 plays. And on 1st and 10, the first time, they tried to pass on 1st and 10 twice in a row. That didn't work. First time, Hurts rolled to his right, threw it out of bounds. Second time was that nice pass. I thought it was nice under center play action that you don't see the Eagles do a lot. He hit A.J. Brown, but just a tick too late so that when A.J. was catching the ball, he got hit by Quentin Lake in the back, and then he dropped the ball. And then from that point on, they were not going to throw the ball on 1st and 10 in that 17-play sequence. So I do feel like there was what A.J. Brown said, and even Jalen Hurts alluded to, a conservative approach there that was just way too Saquon Barkley reliant as both a ball carrier and a pass catcher. I mean, you can't have one guy touch the ball 10 times on 17 plays in both capacity on a day where nothing's happening for him. And I understand that the history last year, you want to give Saquon the ball. It almost felt like the Eagles believed he was going to pop one eventually, but it never happened. And then the byproduct of that, or it came at the expense of giving the ball to guys like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and functioning as an offense like they have in the past, because they became so reliant on trying to get the ball to Saquon and pop one and not make a mistake in the process.
Well, Jeff, and this I think gets to a question that a lot of us have had since Sunday afternoon. Because they went up tempo, it looked like Hurts was more the guy running things, at least on the outside, than maybe Patulo signaling things in. In watching the film, did you get a sense of how much was this Hurts directed, or how much was this Patulo adjusting personnel packages and all that?
Yeah, I think that there's a misconception about no-huddle offense, because there's really 3 varieties of it. You can run no-huddle, and the Eagles do this a lot, but you don't run a play immediately.
Right.
You know? The Eagles run no-huddle, but then they'll let the play clock go down. So there's plenty of time to get a play call in from the sideline when you're going no-huddle, which I didn't detect anything. And even if you do see a quarterback making a lot of discussions both at the line of scrimmage or looking to the sideline, it doesn't mean that they are not, or that they are getting a play call from someone. There's a lot of dummy language in there, so it would just be complete speculation. But I just based on how the Eagles run their offense conceptually, I don't believe that any conspiracy theory that Patulo is not calling plays, because the plays that they run and have ran are similar to what they've been running for years now. They are not a wide variety route tree type of offense, and they never have been. So when they go no huddle, there's times, Kev, that they do it because they're trying to keep the defense from subbing certain pass rushers on the field. Mm-hmm. But the Rams are not a team that plays like 7 or 8 different guys. They're not like a Jim Schwartz defense. They pretty much play their guys. So no huddle for them is just an opportunity to kind of get their quarterback and receivers and whole offense in a rhythm. And the reason why they did it more in the second half than the first is because they were ahead of the sticks by the time they started opening up the offense. In that 17-play sequence I was referring to, they had very few plays of 3 or 4 plus yards. So you can't go no huddle when you're at 3rd and 15 and you're just going to hand the ball off to Saquon to get out of there.
So while we're on this conversation of where this goes, and we're talking to Jeff Mosher of Inside the Birds and Philly Voice, where do you see this going? You mentioned opening up this offense. Is this second half some sort of revelation for him, or are we going to be sitting here this time next week talking about, well, they took the conservative approach again, and hey, maybe it works for them. Maybe we're talking about a 4-0 football team. Is this something that can actually jumpstart them taking a different approach offensively?
I think that one lesson they can learn is that you don't have to get Saquon Barkley going by running him, and that if you can get yourself an efficient passing offense to start with, that could actually help take some bodies away from Saquon, almost thinking in reverse, because clearly the way they've been trying to do it, which is starting off with Saquon and then hoping that opens up their pass offense, hasn't worked very well. So you would like to see that adjustment. Jalen Hurts, we all know, isn't really comfortable throwing in between the hash mark, in between the numbers. But there's also a misconception on that. When their guys are wide open, he will. I mean, he's hit plenty of guys in between the numbers on specific routes that are designed against certain coverages to have guys open. And you saw that, whether it's a slant and AJ one-on-one or he had a nice deep dig to Devontae Smith for 16 yards on 3rd and 10. That was a beautiful progression read and a very important third down conversion at that time, because that set up the touchdown that would eventually put them ahead. So I don't think that there should be any fear. Now, every week is like you see a different type of defense. The Bucs, we all know, give Jalen Hurts and the offensive line and the Eagles in general a lot of fits, because Todd Bowles just wakes up out of bed thinking about how he's going to blitz and disguise a blitz. I mean, this guy, all he thinks about is ways to break down your offensive line protection schemes. So to me, that means that's a great opportunity to just sort of, like you said, get your short pass game going, get the ball out of his hands in 3 seconds, and don't let Bulls dictate. But they seem to really have trouble doing that.
Jeff, one of the things defensively I thought that was huge in that comeback, if you will, was it seemed like in the second half they did a lot of adjusting on the Rams running game. They got gashed in the first half. What did you see that kind of worked in the second half to shut down Williams and Corum?
Yeah, so I think there was a little bit of the element of surprise, and this is why I think Sean McVay is an excellent coach. He's really good. The Rams running game for the last 2 years, maybe 2.5, 3, has been built around running the ball inside, a lot like the way the Eagles do, running plays like duo or inside zone, which is basically, your interior offensive line is double teaming the tackles and just getting that push up the middle. That's the way the Rams operated the last 2 years, and Kyren Williams and Blake Corum were really good in between the tackles runners. And I felt like the biggest plays that the Rams made were on sort of what we call wide zone, or not necessarily outside zone like you see the 49ers do, but more running toward those bubbles in the B and C gaps, right? And they did a really good job of doing that. And then getting to the edges, I just don't think the Eagles expected some of those outside runs that you saw Corum and Williams be able to break. And then they definitely did a better job. You saw blitzing a lot from Vic. I think a lot of that was run blitzing as well, just getting extra defenders in the box and on the edges to seal them a little bit better and force the Rams to go back to running on the inside. And, of course, when they had to run inside on those 3rd and 4th downs in the second half, they were not successful.
Defensively, last week, we talked a lot about what it was going to look like in the secondary, and the next-gen stats were quite kind to Quinyon Mitchell in his matchup with Davante Adams. What stuck out to you going back and watching the performance of the defense from a secondary perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a really long time. You guys both know this. It's been a really long time since we've talked about an Eagles corner who was so talented that he could shadow the best receivers in the league. I mean, when I say long time, I'm not talking about years. I'm talking about decades, right? I mean, maybe Eric Allen. So Alito and Sheldon were great. I don't really recall a lot though, Jim. Troy, yeah, but I don't know if those guys followed individual receivers as much, because even Jim Johnson was more of a you play your sides guy and do what you do. So I think it's really special. It's really fun to watch. It's been a long time coming, and the Eagles clearly hit on a guy who has a lot of physical talents, but also a lot of confidence and a lot of intelligence to be able to do that, because he was asked to follow a guy in Davante Adams. And although Adams is static, he doesn't really move, the Rams offense itself moves a lot, and there's a lot of motion. So it might look like Davante Adams is your outside number one receiver, say to the left side, but then all of a sudden they motion a receiver outside of him. And that changes what Davante Adams is in the rules of your defense. He might now be the number 2 on the inside because of that motion, even though he didn't move. And that meant Quinyon had to kind of go and at times follow him and make sure his rules were correct. So it's not easy, but that's just how good Quinyon has been, and Vic completely trusts him. I also think that's why Vic is blitzing more, which I'm writing about right now. It'll be out on Philly Voice later. Vic is blitzing at over 25%, which for him is Like, this is the guy who's famous for never blitzing, not one time in the Super Bowl. He blitzed Stafford on 41% of his dropbacks, which is really high for Vic. But I don't think he would do that unless he really had the confidence that guys like Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean can handle the coverage.
Confidence in the coverage there, but in terms of the edge rushers they've got right now, it was interesting to see 3 edge rushers inactive for the game on Sunday. What does it say about his confidence in that group and the defensive front right now?
Yeah, he's not a high defensive end rotation guy to begin with. I mean, we all got used to Jim Schwartz being here and playing like 6 edge rushers and divvying up the snaps and the fresh legs approach. Vic's the opposite. And you saw that last year. He really only played 3 edges. Obviously, Brandon Graham getting hurt and Bryce Huff not being healthy fed into that. But, by the end of the year, even with the youth and experience, it was really just Josh Sweat, Jalen Hunt, and Nolan Smith. And right now it's Hunt, Nolan Smith, and, Zarius Smith is getting in there. And like you mentioned, Ojolari's been inactive. I don't think he's going to have a whole lot more than 3 guys in that rotation, no matter how healthy or how productive guys are, because that's just how he does it.
And is that sign, just going to the blitzing part of this, like for him blitzing more, is it just giving a different look, or is it the way he feels about his defensive front and their ability to get home?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ray. I don't know yet, and Vic is not the type to sit here and explain to you exactly when and why he does. And I was even going through last year's games and trying to figure out some kind of pattern of why he does what he does. Like in Week 15 against the Steelers last year, he didn't send a single blitz. In Week 16, so 1 week later, same defense, no injury that I can remember, he blitzed the Commanders at 33%. His top 5 blitz games last year were Cleveland, bad quarterback, 36.7%. Washington, good quarterback, 33%. Packers, Week 1, 32.4%. Week 4, Tampa Bay, 28%. And then Cowboys on their backup quarterback, I believe, they were at Week 17, 25.8%. I can't find the similarities of those 5 opponents or what was going on with the Eagles' defense at that time, because 2 of those games were before DeJean was the nickel, and then 3 of those games were after. So if you guys can crack the code, I'd love to know. Sometimes I think it's just a feel thing for him. And I thought last year the Eagles were pretty good in general at rushing the passer. And then again, and so his season average last year was 19%, really low. Maybe it is a sign that he's just not as confident right now in his edge group, and he's doing it higher. But it could also be the opponent. You're facing the Chiefs. You don't have any wide receivers you got to worry about. So the same team he threw 0 blitzes at in the Super Bowl, now he's just going after them. So it feels like each week there's a different reason. But for whatever it is, he's blitzing more this year than last year.
Should we read anything into the Keely Ringo comment this morning in your mind? That
was interesting. I don't know what to make of it, Kev, because I guess he told Keely, "Hey, you're gonna have an opportunity this year." So he's either trying to keep the kid's head into it and keep his confidence up, and saying if there's we're 1 injury away, or maybe 2, I suppose, from Keely getting back into the defense. But I mean, Ja'Cory Bennett is the first guy off the bench, so It really would have to be 2 injuries or like a dime package. I don't know. I just think he's trying not to lose the kid completely, but I really don't see too many pathways for Keely playing in this defense unless Adoree Jackson goes through a long period of struggling, or even a couple of games, and then Ja'Cory Bennett goes in and struggles as well, which I suppose is possible. It's not like either of these 2 guys are going to make the Pro Bowl this year, so we'll see.
We will see, Jeff. Always appreciate having you on. Thank you for making the time for us, and we'll talk to you again down the road.
Thanks, Mosh.
All right, fellas. Have a great one.
Yep.
Talk to you soon.
Yep.
Elite football guy conversation right there.
Was.
Always.
The Ringo thing, now that I think of it, is more interesting than I maybe initially thought. Because he's not been a guy who's praised Ringo at every turn.
No. He hasn't praised anyone. Really. In that second cornerback spot. Adoree Jackson was very clearly not his guy. Ja'Cory Bennett was a we'll see, and he was fine in his 12 snaps or whatever it was this week. And Ringo, he's been very clear that he's not.
He's not a huge fan of.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm done with Sidney Brown.
Me too, man.
I am. I'm so done with him.
I just don't understand if you're like, there's a level of star where if you do something ridiculous, like you get in someone's face, it's like, all right, well, you justified it because your play on the field justifies it.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if I did something incredibly dumb.
You haven't?
I have, but I'm saying my punishment would be that of the person who's accomplished very little. Sidney Brown, you also should have, like, you have to realize who you are in that regard. Stop doing the dumb things. Please. Glad you brought that up. That was something, things we didn't talk about enough yesterday. That.
Can we clip the stop doing dumb things thing to just put back in his face whenever he does dumb things?
Yeah, I'll grab that.
Yeah.
All right. Phil's starting their final homestand of the regular season tonight. That's coming up. We will look at the game tonight. Also, get to the text line because I want to get the reaction to the nepotism conversation because we never got that reaction. That I want to see what the people had to say about that. Alongside Kevin Cooney, I'm Ray Dunn. This is Middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Fanatic's Andrew DiCecco, the Philadelphia Inquirer.
I don't think I will ever pick against the Eagles again. Because this team, we say it all the time, it's a cliche. They find ways to win. They find ways to win. If you can't beat a team that comes out in the first half like that, I'm not sure anybody is ever going to beat this Eagles team. Because you look at that first half, and it was ugly. The Eagles looked fortunate for it to be 19-7. And then you're thinking any momentum that they could have getting the ball to start the third quarter wiped away with a Jared Verse strip sack. It's 26-7. It's over, right, Ricky Bo? It's over.
Oh, it's never over with this team. It really, you know what? The biggest take I have out of this is that they went into the locker room, they came out pissed off. I mean, in a good sense. This is a team that was down 19 points at one time in this game. 19 points in football. You know, I mean, that you usually don't come back from that. This is a team that has too much pride. This is a team that's going to keep coming at you no matter what. As a matter of fact, as you know, I was over at NBC yesterday. I said, this game is not over. This team, if they score coming out of the half, I said this could be a completely different game. And it turned out it was a completely different game. And you learned something. You learned a lot about the offense. You learned that the offense is still there. They can still click. And guess who's alive, ladies and gentlemen? A.J. Brown.
To see a little bit of fire in that case is nice because it's like, okay, maybe that is the step in leadership that a lot of people wanted him to have. And that is like the Brady-esque. I still don't think he's going to be the guy that breaks the Microsoft tablet and, like starts to threaten the offensive coaches around him. But, I mean, you saw a decent level of like, we got to figure this out. Like, I need you to do that for me when it came to Patulo.
Well, and I think that was the thing. I needed to see that because it's like when a manager or a coach sees something going wrong and they're not that. Rob Thompson, for example, right? And everybody's like, well, he should get tossed out. For the, okay, well, if you do it every single game, then you just become a clown and that loses its luster as well. So for Jalen Hurts to have that point of like, he's obviously seeing something. And that's where the give and take with an offensive coordinator. So we were talking about earlier with, is it a different play caller? Did something happen between the first half and the second half? No, but there could be that change in the relationship of, here's what I saw, now I'm giving you this input, and now we can change that because it is a collaboration. Right?
And for all we know, Patulo could have said to him, hey, man, get a little bit more aggressive. And Hurts
he said, all right.
All right.
That's what I told you I was going to do.
Yeah. Another person that probably had the reaction that you did, and I'm now regretting that we didn't say that to him, is Jeff Mosher. Because Inside the Birds, they had the 2-hour show Monday nights here on The Fanatic. And that was one of my first, producing, things that they had me do. I would be producing that show, again, on those Monday nights. And I can imagine that your reaction, the way you had when I produced you for the first time, of who is this, kid that's producing me?
Oh, yeah.
Mosher probably came in what are we, really, him?
Yeah.
No, the internship's over, buddy. It's 6 o'clock. Go home. Time for you to go.
It was one of them, I walked in and it's I'm ready done. I'm yeah, okay, hi.
Yeah.
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 Okay, can you get me a coffee? I don't even drink coffee. I just want to tell somebody to go do something. I wasn't that way. But.
No, not at all. No, we actually emailed back and forth before that. I remember
we did.
I try to be proactive.
Yes, you are.
In reaching out to people, especially the people
who you haven't worked with.
Yeah,
before.
who I haven't worked with before. Or now that I've been here a little bit, when people come here, I try to be hey, great, try and build a little bit of the relationship. Listen to people's shows, that type of stuff.
Hey, look, I work with Kern, so obviously, I can work with anybody.
Hey, I'm not taking a shot. Mike Kern doesn't know. Well, me and Mike Kern don't
Mike
have a relationship.
just texted me, so that's why yeah.
Don't let me get in the middle of something here. Jeez. I actually interviewed. He was speaking of being a kid. I interviewed him at for a temple project back in the day.
Seriously?
Yeah, he would be. He would probably remember me as such as a college kid.
Did you call him on a Saturday?
No, we actually met him at Parks for it.
Yeah. We'll just go on.
All right. To the text line here, some of the reaction of what we've gotten into today. I will give you the choice, all right, Sean Rodman. So this is going to be a smorgasbord of text. You go, whatever you got for me. Fire away.
All right, let's start with Frank in Philly. He says Jalen Hurts is unstoppable during a fast-paced offense. 1-2 ball is out when you make this man think and stay in the pocket. Things go sour. All he needs to do is get the ball out to his playmakers.
So the think thing's unfair.
Yeah, that's here's the thing, and it's not just get him out 1-2. When you go deep, he tends to throw a pretty good deep ball.
Yeah.
So I kind of trash that one.
Yeah. I think the tempo to the offense is really good, especially for going up against an offense this talented, not being able to get personnel in there, not be able to move around is good in that regard. And I think you're talking more to seeing the offense in rhythm, and that's more about him hitting that first read coming open for him. And I think part of the problem is with sometimes the simplistic approach they have to route concepts, that you're going to end up with defenses that have an expectation of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And with that expectation, sometimes that limits what you can do in terms of getting into that rhythmic passing game. Part of it's also his lack of a desire to go down the field. I mean, that's also a part of it. Hurts is not free of blame. He is
risk averse.
But, yes. But we're going up against – I want to push back on the think that – because he makes more adjustments at the line of scrimmage than you, I, or anyone out there knows. Mm-hmm. So to say that I find that characteristic of his game, the way that it was characterized there, to be unfair. All right, what else we got on the text line?
All right, let's go to the Phils. Norman Mayfair checking in saying that he wants to see the Dodgers in the playoffs with that bad bullpen. The Mets are broken. I fear the Reds and Diamondbacks.
Fear the Reds and the Diamondbacks.
I'm not sure I want to face Hunter Green. No.
No.
Or Lodolo.
Yeah, no. I'm there in terms of what we said about the pitching rotation earlier in the show.
Yeah.
I agree with.
I think their rotation's really underrated.
Yeah. No, them sneaking their way into the postseason could be that could be a wonderful wild card series to watch as a baseball fan.
Oh, sure.
Dodgers, Reds, in terms of the pitching you're going to get in that series. I would hope that would go 3 for both of those teams' rotations for what they're going to bring to Philadelphia. Even
How do you
though
think Padres Cubs looks?
Ooh. Pavetta game.
Yeah, but the Cubs starters aren't exactly.
I know.
Tremendous right now.
It's going to be 10-9 in the one series, and it's going to be 3-2 in the other.
But here's the other thing: San Diego doesn't hit a ton of home runs.
Yeah,
are they going to be able to play scratch and claw baseball for a month? I don't think so.
No.
I'll go by Ricky's philosophy on this. Something always gets the Padres. Something.
Their own fans.
like their own mindset. They are a very laid-back team.
I've had this
With
back and forth
Machado
before.
and Tatis and Darvish. And
They're laid back through 162. I think what has gotten them before, to me, is just the fact that they've run into better teams. Like I think the Phillies in 2022, I think we found out they were the better team in that series. Like they were what, the 5 and the Phillies were the 6?
They were throwing Mike Clevenger.
Before. They've been able to put the Dodgers on the ropes, which has been like the best thing of this entire tenure. Like they're back and forth with the Dodgers, the best.
That's been great.
Yeah.
It's a great rivalry.
Yeah, but other than that, once they throw
and
that
that
haymaker
stupid
to the
song.
Yeah, that song got them. I think it got them. We got one more on the text line.
Yes, we do. Lou in Langhorne has a different opinion on Jalen Hurts and the offense. He says, I don't believe that Jalen completely took control, but I absolutely think that the hurry-up offense was Patulo's pushing him off the diving board moment for Jalen. Like, stop being scared and just jump in.
Yeah, I think there's has to be a back and forth between the two of them of like, you have to stop calling scared. You have to stop approaching the game scared. I think that had to be there. All right, we're going to try something.
Okay.
A man that's never been brief a day in his life is going to have 30 seconds here to make his point. Uncle Frank's on the line. Uncle Frank, make your point.
Oh, good Lord, I would have taken a gummy. All right, here we go. Kevin, I never had the pleasure.
Hi, Uncle Frank.
So, I would like to give an attaboy, or an attagirl for that matter, and also add this individual to my Christmas card list. The person I was in Jordan Davis's ear all off season. I mean, he is reaching his potential, and, this individual was just tapped into his
5 seconds, Uncle Frank.
Hammered home the fact that he doesn't know his full potential until he really pushes himself.
Well, that's
Mic
great.
drop.
Thanks, Uncle Frank.
Thank you, Uncle Frank.
Uncle
I
Frank.
also am very thrilled with Jordan Davis being in shape and playing better this season.
Uncle Frank went to the Andy Reid School of Clock Management.
I love Uncle Frank. One thing he's not, brief. Brevity is not his strong point. We talk for 4 hours a day. It's not mine either. Kevin Cooney, always a pleasure working with you.
I'll see you in about 2 months.
Yeah, I'll see you sometime. Sean Robin, always a pleasure. Coming up, Unfiltered, right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.